Cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the...
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I gotta give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Our league. Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
And best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
But I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves up.
Yo, what's up, football fans? Welcome to our part one of our weekly show. It is week 14, and we got sit starts tonight. I am Phil Ruskin, host of The Extra Point. I got my guy Kendall Vanderbilt here of the Fantasy Football Tavern. What's up, my guy?
Hey, man! Glad to be doing another show with you, man. It's been some time, not since the off season that we've really had a chance to tear up a show by ourselves. Our boy Mike has a fancy dinner tonight, so cheers, pinkies out for the boy, and Phil's gonna come hang out and tear it up with me a little bit tonight. Looking forward to it. Man.
Happy birthday, Mike. Hope you are well. It's 9:00 on the East Coast, so hope you are well into the middle of a bottle of whiskey by now, if not the bottom of a bottle of whiskey, and nice steaks and potatoes, the sides, all the fixing. I don't know. That's how I like to do my birthday. At this point, it's like birthdays are kind of birthdays, but like, give me a nice bottle of whiskey, give me a good solid steak, maybe a little dessert, and that's all you really need. So
flying out for your birthday. That's what I just
decided. Come on out, man. Come on out.
You're a Chicago guy, I can see you're like a Gibson's guy, for your birthday,
Anywhere with a cart that comes around, and they're like, I don't need no menu. I want the cart. That's what if you don't know about the cart, y'all need to start going to some fancy steakhouses for sure. So well, look, it is. I can't believe I'm saying this. It is either the penultimate week or this is it before the fantasy football playoffs start, which is like mind-blowing. I just wrote an article up actually for one of my main dynasty leagues last week where I literally was writing out playoff scenarios of like, this is who's in, this is what you need to have happen for your team to get in, this is who's eliminated. And I know it's 14 weeks, but like, doesn't it just feel like we were doing like best ball breakdowns and like all these different shows this summer for dynasty rookie drafts? And here we are. Playoff football is upon us. It is wild. But we're going to get all of you ready for what is hopefully a nice big playoff push. And hopefully you are not middle of the pack or bottom of the pack. But let's get you ready and, as we would say, get you right for the week. Kendall, you want to talk about last night's game for a couple minutes, or what are your thoughts?
So I watched I'm a massive Bears fan. Everybody in here knows that. So this is like a battle of the NFC North actual Titans, over here. Me and my Bears, we're just kicking it back, trying to learn a thing or two, how to play football the right way. But yeah, when the NFC North is having a battle, oh my goodness, I was so locked in. Like I had to like hold myself back because I didn't want to drink too much. I wanted to get the notebook out, and I wanted to like. I was basically saying, Ben Johnson, please just consider the head coaching position with us. All right.
Yeah.
He passed his audition, man. He was so good.
Yeah. I think he's going to be on the short list. I think Bobby Slowick's going to be on the short list. And there'll be
Belichick too.
There's some other guys, of course, but like, I think with the players that are in Chicago offensively should grow and develop, right? Rome should get better. Caleb should get better, but I just want to see an offensive mind come in there. And look, I get it. It is what it is. But you got to learn how to call timeout, man. I don't care who's under center. You're the fucking head coach. Call timeout from the sideline and figure it out later. So I do want to ask you a question because so I had Love last night. I had Goff last night. I had Amon-Ra. I mean, like everybody had, right? All the guys that you have, you're going, right? 7-3 or whatever it was early on. You're kind of like, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, boom, second half just explodes. Are you concerned with Jaden Reed's goose egg? And more importantly than the goose egg, just the lack of involvement?
So we had this discussion a couple weeks back. I'm going to victory lap just a little bit because this was several weeks ago, but I said, Philly, I don't know, man. We got this Dynasty show tonight. I'm just thinking it's time to sell Jaden Reed because he's had enough bang games where he was already a first rounder. Maybe you can get a little extra sauce on top of that first rounder, and I think you're going to want to sell because I just don't see this archetype of player with this many mouths just ending up as the guy. And even if he is the guy, he's not even going to be the guy. And then I didn't necessarily predict that they would become just this crazy run-heavy team, but I thought it was a possibility that when you have that many mouths, look, you just might not end up the guy, and you don't know how it's going to shake out, right? And so that's why I wanted to sell him. And yeah, I was kind of expecting it. Like his lack of involvement was a little bit weird, and that if you're going to throw some deep shots to Christian Watson, why not also do them to Jaden Reed? But personally, if you actually just look back a little bit, I don't think Jaden Reed had the same separation that Christian Watson did. The moves at the line, Watson was just open earlier. Routes that kind of just made more sense for Love. They were just a little easier to throw.
Yeah.
If you look back at some of the highlights, I actually urge you to, anyone watching, look back at some of Reed's longest catches this season. Tell me if he was open or not, or tell me if it was a 50-50, it should have been a pick the other way. I'm telling you, many of them were just a little bit of luck. So yeah, I'm not super surprised. I'm not like worried because I think he's the same player that he's always been, but the offense is very much becoming we're going to slow the game down. What do you know about the NFC North? How do we typically play in the NFC North? Hard nose, defense, we're running the ball a lot. We're going to have the slowest pace of play known to man, and we're going to try to be efficient where we can and play situational football. That's what they did. I mean, he threw a couple touchdowns on like 13 passes or something. It was like almost nothing. So I think the way their offensive identity is looking, I am worried for Jaden Reed, but I'm not overreacting because I was never that high on him to begin with, and I do want to sell a little bit. But if you have him, here's my comp. Jacoby Myers or Jaden Reed is a real question you got to ask yourself. Jacoby Myers is the consistent. He has a better role in his offense. He doesn't have the ceiling that Jaden Reed does, but he has a way better role. You know, he's more impactful in terms of like them ever winning a game. So I would seriously consider sitting Jaden Reed next week in like 10-team leagues where you have better options, or if it's not your bye week. So yeah, I am concerned in that he's not going to win you a playoff unless it gets big. That game plan is run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. His touchdown upside is gone. He might get 150 yards, but it's going to be 15 points in standard.
Yeah, I don't know that he's even getting there, right? Like at Seattle next week, difficult place. At home against New Orleans for the semifinal round of the playoffs, and then championship weeks at Minnesota. Minnesota's defense is legit. So Christian Watson does what Christian Watson always does. He shows up and he gives you 114 yards off 3 catches, or he gives you nothing. And last night was 100 and whatever it was, right? 100, I think it was 114. I have to look, but something to that. It was triple digits for sure, right? And I think the challenge that we always talk about in a team like Green Bay and a team like Detroit is there's so many guys that somebody has to fail, right? It's just not your week. And I know Amon-Ra owners, managers who have Amon-Ra were very disappointed last night. But look, that's the way that it goes sometimes, right? When it's Amon-Ra's week, that means Laporta, Gibbs, or Monty fails. Monty scores, that means someone else fails. It's just, if you've got a consolidation, we're going to talk about the Jets tonight, but if you've got Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson and nobody else, sure, then everything goes there, right? Like if you've got, Cortland Sutton, and I mean, Marvin Mims made an incredible catch. It was a great throw last week, but like, let's be honest, Marvin Mims hasn't done much. If you've got a Cortland Sutton and nobody else, then it's consolidation. But in these,
it's not working out right when the coach every press conference has to obligatory say, we got to get Mims the ball more often. Right. Yeah. You've been trying to get him the ball for 2 years there, guy. Come on now.
No
what
kidding.
are we doing here?
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, man.
Right.
Hey, the Lions look pretty good, though. I want to pivot over to them, man. That running
Lions
game,
look great. I mean, Tim Patrick is real. I mean, like I picked Tim Patrick up in a league off the waiver wire yesterday. I wasn't brave enough to start him, I'll be honest. But I'll tell you right now, I kind of glad I have him. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those guys that just Ishmael, appreciate you being here, man. Awesome. Excited for you to enjoy the show tonight. Appreciate the super chat, brother. Now I've lost my train of thought. What was I talking? Oh, Tim Patrick. I was so excited that Ishmael's here, and then I was like, oh, Tim Patrick. I was like, who's I talking
Appreciate
about?
You mentioned that Daniel Dopp drop, though. That was super cool. Big shout out to our boy Wilson. He's a long-time fan of the show. He's been around way longer than I was here, but he hooked us up with that, man. That was really cool. So Wilson, if you're around too, man, appreciate you for that, dude. Ismail, awesome.
Yeah. This is the thing I'll say, and then let's move on because we got a lot of games to talk about, right? And players. You obviously started all the Lions. You started the Packers. Like, you knew what you were doing last night. We got guys that need answers to questions for the games that are going to come up here. But I don't think it hurts anyone, the emergence of Tim Patrick. I just think it's one more mouth to feed. And if it goes last night, happens again, there's only so many touchdowns in a game, right? And if one of those touchdowns goes to Tim Patrick, this is the way I always look at it when I watch games. It's just one less scoring opportunity for Laporta, for Monty, for Gibbs. And that doesn't mean those guys aren't going to score. It just means as you get into the semifinals, as you get into the championship week, like Tim Patrick scoring hurts you if you're the, Gibbs owner, because Monty could get hit. You know what I mean? Like, I think it hurts Gibbs. I think it hurts Laporta. Like, Amon-Ra is still going to be Amon-Ra. Yes, last night wasn't his night, but like he'll be fine. But I think Tim Patrick's emergence as a red zone threat hurts one of the running backs and hurts Laporta more than it hurts Amon-Ra. That's my thoughts. So let's move on. We got a lot to talk about. Before we do, really quickly, it is Bye-Pocalypse round 2. Y'all thought it was over in week 12. Whoopsies. The NFL does it again. We have no Broncos, no Texans, no Ravens, no Patriots, no Colts, no Commanders. Everybody is resting their bodies, getting ready for some of these teams. Actually, most of them are getting ready for the playoffs. Not the Patriots, but everybody else is still in the mix, very much in the mix. So let's start with the New York Jets traveling to South Florida. 3-9 Jets take on the 5-7 Dolphins. This game opened at 45.5. It is now at 45 on our over-under, and they're giving Miami a touchdown. So let's start with what we have to with our cover boy here. Look, Breece Hall downgraded today. It is a doubtful. At this point, just rule him out. Take him out of your lineups, folks. He's not going to play. This isn't going to happen for you. Sauce Gardner, doubtful. I saw 2 or 3 other guys on the Jets that were out as well. So let's just go ahead and start with our man, Braylon Allen. Are you starting him? Are you flexing him? If you are starting him, maybe who are some names that you're considering putting him in over? I think that's going to be a big question for a lot of folks this week is, are you going to put Allen in? And if so, over who?
Yeah. So chat, definitely hit us up with your questions on, it's not just a question of if you're going to start him too, right? It's Braylon Allen is on enough waivers too, where it's late in the week. This is kind of a late, are you going to fab dump for him, or do you let somebody else dump whoever didn't get Garendo? Do you just let them have this, and do you wait to pivot to something else? Because there are other injuries. If we're talking the fab discussion, right? Because there's is Charbonnet still on the waiver wire or something like that. So interesting conversation there. I believe in Braylon Allen in a big way. I think he's fantastic. He's so young. I mean, I don't know if he turned 21 yet, but I know he's 20 when he entered the season. So he has so much room to grow. I liked what I've seen. I like the dual threat. I think he did fine with the pass catching. I see him as a 3-down back on any team without Breece Hall. He still needs to develop a little bit. So I like him. I would start him because of that 3-down skill set. I do think other people mix in, but I do think that particularly in the passing game, I think he's going to catch 3 or 4 balls, give him a nice safe floor. I like him quite a bit. I'm going to start him over all of I don't know they might have a role, but they're not a good prospect, right? Amir Abdullah is kind of an example. Like, no one really wanted to start him, but you had to. I don't think he's an amazing football player. If I heard that he was getting the start, and I think there's some more healthy players. I think Zamir White's out, but like that's an example of who's starting for that team. If you knew who was starting for the Raiders at running back, I would still take Braylon Allen over it because I think he's more talented. So I do like him. I am starting him.
Let me ask you a couple names here because I think this is what people are going to be asking themselves. You ready?
Hit me.
Gus Edwards on the road at Kansas City against that defense, or Braylon Allen on the road?
Braylon Allen. Gus can't catch a ball.
Okay. Nick Chubb, touchdown dependent, very touchdown dependent. Nick Chubb against the Steelers. All right, so we're getting higher in the spot here. Jalen Warren, pass catcher, but kind of murky backfield with Najee there.
45% snap share. Give me Braylon, who's going to hit 70.
Okay. Chuba, who had been good, and then all of a sudden last week, and Brooks didn't do much, but apparently neither did Chuba. So does that change this week? I don't know yet.
I would go Chuba out of pedigree there.
Okay.
Chuba's like, dude, I've seen Chuba put up 20 points in good and bad matchups. I know Brooks is coming, but I've seen it. That one is actually pretty close, to be honest, but I've seen Chuba do it.
And then this
gonna
one,
go with Chuba there.
and this is the last one I'll ask you. This one to me seems very clear cut. I know we were talking about it today in the group text, but if KW3 is out and Charbonnet is the starter,
Oh,
Charbonnet
any chance I can get you to change your question? Ismail's coming at it with the fire.
All right, we will pause. We got a super chat. So here we go. Ishmael says, Herbert or Caleb, looking for a lot of points to get me into the playoffs. 2 receivers, 2 running backs, 1 flex, full PPR. Tyreek, Drake London, MVS, Westbrook, A-Chain, Chase Brown, Braylon Allen.
They got Braylon. So the real question is Herbert, Caleb here, right?
That's the question, yeah.
We're looking for ceiling. We need a lot of points. So this is an interesting one, right? Because Herbert has the Chiefs matchup, which has historically been a high over-under, but their defense has been killing people. So that's
on the road.
It looks better than I think it really is for Herbert's over-under. Caleb has an interesting matchup this week that has some injuries on defense. Bosa's not playing.
Yeah. But you're also saying now that DeAndre Swift is questionable, and so is DJ Moore. Rome saw 6 targets last week on Thanksgiving, caught 2 of them, I think, for what, like 26 yards or something.
Yeah. I mean, they were pretty bad targets, to be fair.
They're bad targets.
They were real bad targets.
What you do have this week is interesting. And you have you have a coordinator who's now an interim head coach. And sometimes we've seen this. You've seen that kind of revitalize teams. Right. You have seen, I mean, Dennis Allen did it with the Saints when he took over. Right. And you've had some guys, Antonio Pierce, when he took over as the interim, kind of giving that quote on mini promotion. I'm still going to start Herbert because of the consistency. I get the matchup's not great. Kansas City's defense is real. The game's on the road. But I see the narrative going 2 ways. Number one, they've got to chase some points. You just mentioned Gus isn't a great pass catcher. I don't know. Chris Jones is a game wrecker. I know they want to run the ball, but Herbert's been throwing it a lot lately. And I've watched the last 3 Chicago games, and I'll be honest, man, I watched them with my eyes closed. You know what I mean? Like, it was just like, I just can't. So, yes, the Niners are down this year. It's my Niners, so obviously not loving that. But at the same time, give me Herbert. I think the ceiling is a little bit higher, Ishmael, and if you're chasing some points, hopefully it doesn't matter, but I think it gives you a better chance at passing touchdowns.
Yeah, I think your general narrative, I'm completely there. If I had to condense my take into this is Herbert, who is an all-star, one of the best beautiful deep balls, and he is a competitor. He's similar to Josh Allen. He's got that fine, I'll do it myself gear in him. And he's playing Patrick Mahomes, and there's not a professional in any industry out there that doesn't like recognize like the other guy across the room and say, yeah, today we're going to bring it. He's going to have to. They're winning. He's got something to play for. Like Herbert, this is a big game for him, right? Yeah. And look at the coach. This is a coach in a big game. College coaches in big games do one thing. Get the best player of the ball every single down as much as possible. Do what you got to do, right? I think this is a game where Herbert could run the ball 10 times, rush for a touchdown, maybe 50, 60 on top of it. Because Gus Edwards by himself in a you got to win this game to like show that it's, you guys are for real. You're not just like, you got a good defense kind of a thing. I don't like that Ladd's banged up. If Ladd were healthy, this would be so much easier to just go Herbert. But I still think you have to go Herbert. It's like I'm saying rushing upside for Herbert when Caleb is the other person, but I still like Herbert in this big matchup. He's saying he needs a lot of points. Caleb has a big ceiling. We've seen it, but it's very rare. I think Herbert has the type of he's playing Mahomes. If you're going to tell me, I know they have a good defense, but if you're telling me there's a game script where he could go off for 40 points, throw for 3, rush for 1, I mean, this is it, right? Like it's the best chance for you to put up, which has a better chance of putting up a 35 plus baller. Yeah, I think that's Herbert. So,
well, the game script is going to be that there'll be some wacky penalty on 4th down when the Chiefs are, up 2 points and they're trying to get a field goal somehow to win the game, the Chargers, and then they'll get some sort of a 60-yard, your left shoe was untied, 60-yard penalty, and now the Chiefs win. So, yeah. Sorry to all the Chiefs fan out there, but y'all know it's true. So, all right.
So Herbert, Ismail, we're going Herbert.
We're on Herbert. Yep. So we were talking about the Jets and the Dolphins. Look, you're starting Garrett Wilson. You're starting Devontae Adams. We're going to start Braylon Allen this week. You're starting Achane. You're starting Tyreek Hill. You're starting Jonnu. Are we starting Jalen Waddle? 2 weeks ago, I think it was 117 and a touchdown. Last week, it was like participation trophy, right? So where are you with Waddle this week? And look, Tyreek Hill catches that ball on Thanksgiving night without that touchdown, and he gets a 30-yard in the fourth quarter to kind of pad the stats, and he finishes 83 yards and a touchdown. Otherwise, it was a 50-yard game, and that touchdown kind of, if it goes to Waddle, we're maybe having a different conversation. But where are you with Waddle this week?
So I had like two competing takes. I am going to leave it with I'm looking at him as like a middling flex. I'm going to try to find some more upside to put into it because here's the thing. I think the Jets are kind of such a tire fire that this game has the makings of something that could just be kind of ugly. Like both teams could be. I've seen Tua play bad, right? I've seen Rodgers play bad.
No, never.
When you have a game with two defenses that are, I get sauces out, but they're competent groups with quarterbacks that have kind of imploded. Like there's a real narrative for like a 35 over under. There's a narrative where like Rodgers gets it right and Tua has to actually do his thing. I just think the chances are so much more like this game's more ugly than it is good, I guess. Yeah. So I'm fading him. I've traded for him kind of recently at an okay deal, but I don't think you can play him quite yet. It's more of a who are you playing him over? I do think that Waddle has a tiny bit of hidden upside that I think the coaching staff wants to get him involved a little bit because Tyreek's banged up and who knows how long is he with the team. Like you kind of need to get Waddle involved at some point because he's the only guy you might have on contract soon at some point. You got to figure it out.
I have Waddle at 36 this week.
Yeah, I got him at 38 this week.
So like right there on the cusp of that wide receiver 3. And I think to be fair, most leagues are going with 3 wide receivers. And if not, you have a flex. So he's clearly in flex worthy. I think the question isn't necessarily is he flex worthy. I think the question for me is like, are you going to get a ceiling Waddle game with no sauce? Or are you going to get a floor Waddle game with no sauce? Because the floor game could be 3 points, could be 1 point. We've seen that. The ceiling game could be 17 to 20 points, right? And so I think the question for me is, like you were just kind of alluding to, is how does this game go? Because you're right. We've seen the Jets throw some touchdowns and Rodgers kind of start hot, and whether they win the game or not is irrelevant. But I do think it's interesting the fact that we're talking about somebody whose floor, like a Jalen Waddle, whose floor should be 10 points. Right, 8 to 10 points.
Yeah,
and we're talking about right, and we're talking about this dude could get you 2. So I would still flex him, and I'm on the side that this game is actually going to be because people are banged up. I think there's points in this game.
You think the defenses don't care? Because that's I
think the weird thing care.
I don't think it's the middle. I think it's either really ugly or the opposite, where it's like it's a touchdown every play because no one cares, and that those games can become fireworks shows. I'm kind of with you on it. I think it's one or the other.
I think this game hits the over, not by much. So I'm not sitting here calling for 23-20 at 43 points, but I think 28-24 is a reasonable, 27-24 is a reasonable outcome in this game. So
I hope you're right, because seeing these are offenses that to start the year were like on paper they look nice. This matchup on paper to start the season looked awesome.
Yeah, look great.
We
thought this could be a division where 3 teams got to the playoffs. In this game, we had talked about it, you and I off camera, but we had gone through the entire schedule, and I think we had circled this one as like the winner of this game probably gets the wild card spot. The loser could potentially be out. Both these teams are probably out. The Jets are out, but the Dolphins, so like both these teams are probably sitting home in 3 weeks, getting ready for the draft. So anybody else in this game? John, who I think I mentioned was a start. I have Conklin as a sit, Mostert as a sit, Rodgers as a sit. Pretty much everybody in this game that's not the chalk is what I'm going to roll with. So
yeah, won't start the defenses here, I think.
No, neither one. So all right, the Atlanta Falcons at 6-6 will travel to Minnesota to take on the 10-2 Minnesota Vikings. Over under 45.5. Currently at 45.5. Minnesota getting 5.5 at home. You're starting Bijan. You're starting Drake London. Darnell Mooney, I just saw pop up on the injury report. So just something to monitor. I don't think he's going to miss, but just something to keep an eye on here as we get into Saturday practice. I feel like we talk every time I do a game, whether it's me and you or me and Rosta, every time we do an Atlanta game, it's the same question. It's just rinse and repeat. Are we starting Kyle Pitts simply because the tight end landscape is poo-poo? Is that where we are in the world right now? I mean, we're not in love with Kyle Pitts.
I mean, I think yes and no. I guess this is the way I play fantasy football. At least I'm at tight end in particular. I tend to say that I don't care how elite you are. It's what your particular role is. I think you got to look like this is why me and you were really on Laporta. His role in the offense, we said overvalued when it came to like the draft spot.
Yeah.
Where I look at Pitts in terms of what's your role in the offense? How do you play? How do you win? How do you lose? Like trying to get in the head of the coaching staff and what they do. And, he's relevant, but this really seems like a Kirk Cousins issue to me. I don't think Pitts is terrible, but I do think Kirk Cousins, he's looked really good, but he's also looked really bad.
Yep.
I'm on the opinion that he's just not that good. And I think it's a stat where it's like if you look at tight ends that do pretty well, usually they're attached to either a good quarterback or a pass-heavy scheme where it just happens, right? Like Evan Ingram, he's great. The Jags are god-awful, but whoever's at quarterback, sometimes they have to throw the ball 40 to 50 times, and Ingram's awesome with that, right? Like, that's kind of how that kind of plays out. So I think there's other guys that are more interesting, maybe not the best matchup, like Juwan Johnson is interesting versus Kyle Pitts, where like Kyle Pitts could get like almost no targets. Juwan Johnson, there's no way he doesn't get 3 to 6 targets minimum
if he plays.
He's
been banged up all week too. I mean,
that
practice reports on him is it's put it this way.
I like Disley. I like Disley over him.
I do too.
Gesicki's kind of interesting. More touchdown upside in Gesicki. Grant Calcaterra is probably like I'm taking Pitts over Grant, I think. Probably.
Yeah, but Calcaterra is interesting. Like Devonta Smith says he's going to play. So that to me downgrades Calcaterra. I think Calcaterra and DFS, great. Go and throw him in there and hope that he gets a touchdown and you're awesome. Mm-hmm. I think you have to start Pitts just out of the fact that you drafted him on your team. You probably don't have 2 tight ends. Maybe you do if you've went and gotten through a bye week, but who is it? Is it Calcaterra? Is it a banged up, Noah Fant? Because I just saw him on the waiver wire. So I just think, you're not going and grabbing, Jonnu Smith at this point. Like he's long gone. You've missed out on Cade Otton. So those were the waiver wire guys if they were even on waivers. So I think you play Pitts and just deal with it. I don't think there's anyone else on Atlanta that I want to talk about that's even worth it, right? It's just the one thing I will say is Kirk Cousins. I have him as a sit this week.
He's a super sit for me. I have never really bought in. That game was crazy for him, but he hasn't looked good since.
No, he hasn't. And just what's wild to me is that these are 2 teams with the Bucks and the Falcons that are 6-6. So like these are kind of like playoff games right now. Because this is going to come down these next 3 weeks to, I don't think they play. No, they don't play head to head. They already played each other twice. So they're done. So it's going to come down to, can you win out and you have a better finish than the Bucks can. So on the opposite side of the ball, Sam Darnold is in there. Aaron Jones is in there. JJ's in there. TJ Hawkinson is in there. What are we thinking about Jordan Addison? How are we feeling about Mr. Addison this week?
I want to find another option. Like he's flexible. That kind of came out wrong there, but
I've seen him touch his toes. He can get a little hip swivel in there.
Drive a little bit quick. You know what I mean? Addison's frustrating to me. He's frustrating in that you tell me, how does the team use him? Because I don't think they've used him this year in a way they intended to, right? Like he seems to score on broken plays, but I haven't seen him be like, hey, we drew that up for him and it worked. Does that make sense? Like he's just this guy where like Zay Flowers is doing what I thought he would do from college into the pros. Like he's playing his role. Addison is like, I get JJ's there and there's a lot of other weapons, but it feels like he's kind of a broken play guy where it's just not happening. So I want it to happen. I'm going to start him over all the like maybe running backs where we don't really know how the snap share is going to go. Right. Agreed. That's where I'm starting Addison because I know his snap share is going to be up there. Where the opportunities fall, it's football, things happen. But like the Sincere McCormick, I don't know how the Raiders are going to be, but I'm going to take Addison over a random running back, right? The Nick Chubbs, right? Where if you look on Sleeper, when you look at the projections, I think Nick Chubb is like projected in the Sleeper algorithm more than Addison. But I'm just not going to do that in that matchup. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So Addison's like the lesser evil, a lesser of several evils. That's what I would describe him as. I'm going to play him when I think it's just the right move. But maybe Chad has some like ifs or thens, but I don't want to start him if I don't have to.
Yeah, the same way that we talk about keep, trade, cut is a great tool, but don't treat it as the gospel, as the Bible of like, this is what you should do. Every time Sleeper puts a projection in there, take it with a grain of salt. Like, I think one of the things people do, right, and I've been guilty of this at times myself, right? I'll admit my own faults. You just go put the highest projected guys into your lineup, right? Oh, well, this guy's going to get a point more, so I need this 11. And people want to see their side of the graphic turn green.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see. Oh, I'm projected to win this week. Oh, we're halfway through the 10 a.m. Sorry, I'm a West Coast guy. So we're halfway through the morning games. Let's say 10 a.m. games. And everyone's like, what? There's no football on at 10. Like, there is for me. Right? So we're halfway through the morning slate, right? The early a.m. slate. And I'm still projected to win. And then all of a sudden, somebody goes off in the afternoon and whoop, down it goes, right? But like, watch football. We say this every week. Watch the games. Watch the routes they run. Watch the separation they create. Like, watch the game from a skill perspective. I have Jordan Addison at 32 this week. So he's a low-end wide receiver 3 for me. I think the matchup against Atlanta is okay, right? You can move the ball against them. There's nobody that really terrifies me. JJ's the guy that I think you said it perfectly. The problem is I think Hawkinson's a better player, and Aaron Jones seems to be a more focal point in the red zone right now of what they want to do. He's a poor man's Josh Jacobs with how they want to run the ball. So I would like to go somewhere else. I think there's a lot of people that aren't going to be able to just because of the way that their roster construction is, because we've got Bipocalypse round 2. So again, ceiling is a touchdown and 60, 70 yards. The floor is 30 yards, 40 yards, and 4 catches. That's what you're looking at. So anybody else in this game on either side?
No, I think that one's pretty straightforward, to be honest. There's less like flex nuances. This week, I feel like is a lot of I'm in or I'm not. So I'm going to overanalyze everything because I at least want to know, win or lose, whether I make the playoffs or not. I want to know that I didn't, that extra 2 minutes to like look through a couple extra like defenses or whatever, right? Do the extra homework. Yeah. I don't want to go out saying maybe I could have done better if I would have spent more time on it, right? This is not a game where you can spend all that time and you're not going to come up with any options. So, no, we can find better games.
Well, if you want to not spend any time finding better options, I have the game for you, sir.
Yay!
Can I interest you in the 4-8 New Orleans Saints at the 2-10 New York Football? I'm not even going to call them the Giants. They're the minions, right? Like the mini giant. The little Giants might beat them at this point. So,
hey, there you go.
Sorry, Mike, I just dunked on your team on your birthday. But is this the most straightforward game we have ever had to talk about? Is this going to take 3 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, outside of injuries, right? Like, I mean, I guess that has to be a factor. And I think there's only one player that's really in consideration that has no injuries. MVS says, I think, worth the only player worth like any consideration. Juwan Johnson, I'll say it out here. I'll make it real quick. I really like him, converted wide receiver. If he's healthy and he plays, I like him. He is banged up, so like it just kills my take.
And that's the key, right? Like you're starting Kamara, you're not starting either of these quarterbacks. I think you're starting Tyrone Tracy. I'm starting Tyrone Tracy.
Yeah,
so
I'm not worried about the fumbling issues. He's just so much better.
I'm less concerned about the fumbling issues. I'm more concerned about the fact that the time, it seems to be more, at least last week in the Dallas game, it looked very much like a timeshare. Singletary started the game. I don't know if people noticed that or not. Maybe they'd had a few too many early morning Thanksgiving cocktails. But it was very noticeable to me when I was like, that's not Tyrone Tracy. That's Devin Singletary. Mm-hmm. So I'm still going to start Tracy. Is there a Giants pass catcher that you can even not start, flex with the neighbor's injury? Or are you just pivoting to go to a different game and a different, wide receiver 3 somewhere else?
In PPR, I still like Wandale.
Okay.
He's disappointed a little bit lately. I know that's pretty unfortunate, but they did make a change at quarterback. I don't think it can get a ton worse. I mean, I've been a pretty big like Daniel Jones detractor in terms of like just make something happen. Like, come on. There's guys, if you just give them a chance, are pretty good. Jameis Winston didn't play the first several games of the season. Would be well above anywhere of Daniel Jones' entire career, wherever he's been at.
Jameis Winston is a better player.
Like, I mean, he's actually, in my opinion, he's actually kind of a good player, dude. Like,
that's what I mean. Like, he's a better player than Daniel Jones is.
Yeah. So I would play Wandale in PPR. Okay. It's not like a smash play, but he's going to get the targets. Like, he's shown an ability to get open with a bad quarterback throwing him the ball. That's still tough in the NFL. Even if he has no yards after the carry, catching a ball in the NFL is tough. and sometimes he gets 10 targets. So I'm fine with him. I like him more so than I like Slayton as a deep threat with Drew Lock, right? So I think he's very playable. I would like Neighbors to be out, not like banged up to play Wandale personally, but that's the only other maybe. And then that's it for the Giants for me. I'm not playing Bellinger.
I don't think Neighbors plays, and it's just me kind of reading the tea leaves, if you will, of the reports this
2-10.
week. And
they keep coming out with more reports. Like it's like one of those, when you're really little and you don't know how to like fake sick or whatever, you just like keep bringing it up all the time.
Yeah, right.
It seems like that's what they're doing. Like if we throw out 16 messages that say he's pretty banged up, he's perfectly healthy. He can play. We just don't want him to. I'm getting those vibes.
I want to assume that teams wouldn't do what I'm about to say, but we know that they talk about this and the conversation has been had. If you remember the Texans beating the Colts on the last day of the season 2 years ago.
Every Bears fan remembers that.
Right? And then all of a sudden it's whoopsies, did we just screw up and now we don't have the number 1 pick? And it worked out obviously because Bryce Young clearly was not the guy. And even though Stroud's having a stinker of a season, I still think Stroud's going to be just fine.
I think so.
But I do think that the Giants are sitting around talking about, we need a quarterback. Who do we like? And do we not lose the game on purpose, but like, do we not, our franchise right now is Malik Neighbors. Do we not put our franchise
player? We do want you to her.
Yeah, we don't want to. We want to try to make it competitive, and if we lose, shucks, we get we still maintain our top 3 pick for a quarterback, because truthfully, Neighbors is what you have moving forward. You're not making the playoffs. There's no point. What if he is injured and you go out and play him here to win one game that's not going to help you? I don't think Neighbors plays. So again,
Coach Prime might have called him and said, "Hey, listen, you need to take a chill pill, okay?"
Yeah, Coach Prime probably said, you know what? When I'm the head coach of this team next year, I need you to be available for me when I call on you. So very real possibility. All right, I don't want to talk about this anymore because these teams suck and it's just awful.
I'm with you. Only thing I'll say is MVS is an interesting, I hate the MVS play, but he has a real shot at 102 touchdowns on 3 targets. If you are getting crushed because Henry and Lamar are on bye, you know what I mean? And you're just like, I'm starting Drew Lock because that's all I have. Yeah, I would roll with MVS because you need a 20 bagger and 10's not going to do it. I would roll with him. That's the only scenario I would do it, though.
Well, if you have Lamar Jackson and Anthony Richardson in a single quarterback league, like somebody that I know does, and you have to start Drew Lock,
well,
it's not going to be pretty, but
I forgot that was you.
Drew Lock is going to get me more points than a 0. Oh, I shouldn't say that. He should get me more points than 0 points. It just may not be a lot more points than 0. But let's move on. The Carolina Panthers at 3-9 are. I don't know what to think of the Panthers right now. Like, they pushed Tampa Bay, and I mean pushed Tampa Bay. I think they're going to get crushed by the Eagles, but again, I thought they're going to get crushed by the Bucks. So the Eagles 46 over under. The Eagles are getting 12.5. So again, here's what I'm going to say. Take the money, Panthers money line. They're not covering that.
What's funny is when I'm filling out the show sheet for this, guys, peek behind the curtain. I've got to redo the previous stuff, right? So I'm going in this one. The way it worked is the previous numbers said -11. And I was like, oh, that's got to be pretty accurate, And I'm like, oh my god, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, wait, some more?
Yeah. And I took the money line on that one too. And then all of a sudden, Bryce Young's like just running around, and the balls are flying into the end zone. I was like, I've already won my bet because they've covered the spread. But like, come on, Panthers, go win the game anyway.
Ooh, man, we'll have to save it for the dynasty show. But I got some dynasty stuff there, man. I sold Bryce pretty recently because I figured I can do better with almost anything at my flex. And I was doing the all right, I bought low on Bryce when you could buy him for nothing, and now everyone's rushing back to the Panthers. I am full on I'm not going to catch a falling knife twice. Not doing it. All right? No. Anybody can look good throwing the ball 45 times.
I got to get a soundboard. We got to get some real, so nobody wants to hear my mouth sound effects.
Next year, we're going to have production value. Rasta, I promise. We're Ishmael's helping, all right? We're getting there.
Speaking of Bryce Young, you are sitting him. You're sitting Jonathan Brooks. You are sitting. Look, you're sitting the Panthers. I think you can start Adam Thielen. fact, I think you should start Adam Thielen. I think that's the only Panthers player other than Chuba that I am actually comfortable with, and I'm trying to find old man.
They're
Adam
not must starts. I know. I think I have them in
Thielen.
the sheet as must starts because it feels like the closest thing on the team. But
I guess I don't have Thielen as a start. I have him at 44, so there you go. It tells you. But I'm also, everyone knows this, I have a huge Panthers and Jaguars bias, as most people do and should. But you talked about it earlier when we were talking about Braylon Allen. I think Chuba, because of the bipocalypse, again, you mentioned earlier, Derrick Henry's out, right? No Joe Mixon this week. My brain's going blank. Somebody else who is pretty no, Brian Robinson and Eckler's been out, right? So no Commanders running backs this week, although they've had some good fantasy value lately. So let's talk about Devonta Smith for a minute, because he says he's going to play. He's obviously a must start if he's healthy, but
is he doing the Keenan Allen thing because he won't be needed? Yeah, I'm not playing him.
And that's my question, is in this game against the Panthers, where we expect Saquon and A.J. Brown probably to roll.
Yeah, I think Saquon's going to have 3 touchdowns in the first half, and then Gainwell's going to have some fun and that kind of a thing. That's why it's the game script thing. That's like Devonta Smith is not going to be needed. Why? Why would they go crazy with him? You give me a game script where he has a big game. I can't find any. I can find okay games for him, but I can't find big games outside of a big broken play. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same camp there. I think he plays. I think it's like decoy Debo, decoy Devonta.
Sure. Or it's like a scrimmage for them, like they know they're winning this game. They're gonna,
yeah, and I think when you have Saquon, and this is actually kind of why I like Calcaterra this week, because even though Devonta Smith says he's going to play and he's going to be out there, like, what's his snap percentage? And you're right, like if it's 21-3 at the end of the first half, 21-7, like what's the point? They can get through the second half just fine without him. Even if he plays, he may play 50-60%.
There's a good chance Hurts doesn't play the fourth quarter. You know what I mean?
Maybe it's possible. It's possible, but the reality is I think this one again is pretty straightforward. If you want to start Thielen, I mean, because of the bipocalypse, you might have to. If you want starting Chuba, I think you should, but you're starting Hurts, you're starting Saquon, AJB, and then pick your poison. If you have, Devonta Smith or one of these ambiguous running backs, I might take the running back just for touchdown upside, because again, this isn't a great matchup, and we know that the Eagles can win without Smith. And if Smith was healthy, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
But not being healthy in a bad matchup at home, that makes a huge difference when you're playing at home, because the Philly crowd is wild. So Devonta Smith is somebody that, of course, has upside, but I think you need to take a look at your roster and,
he's a must start where he's a must start, but he's not a must start for everybody.
Yeah.
Like I would play Thielen over him. Okay. Talking about the same game. And I'm not saying I love the Panthers or Thielen. The take here is pretty simple. One, Thielen made a very nice catch. He still got it. He doesn't have the athleticism to do it on every play all over the field, but he's always had a nose for the red zone, and honestly diving catches in the red zone. But like at a minimum, similar to the running back case you just made, Thielen has incredible red zone upside. He is the target in the red zone, and they're going to be trailing. Honestly, they should just spot the Eagles some points so that they can truly feel how the game's going to be from the get-go. Just really get them into it.
And situational football in practice, the coach is out there like, okay, guys, it's 14-0, and we're on the 36-yard.
They better be a no huddle in the warm-ups, man. So I think Thielen has a good chance at volume considerably, and I think Bryce is. If I'm a halfway decent coach, I know that we just need to get Bryce in rhythm to some extent, and I think Thielen's a get in rhythm guy because he can catch anything. He's a savvy route runner. I see him as being the guy that they're going to use him to help Bryce get through the rest of the season. I think he's going to be the guy to do it.
Yeah, Canales is if he's smart, and he's worrying about next season. What does next season look like? And Bryce is going to be there. So, yeah, get him some easy throws, get Thielen established. Let me ask you this question before we move on, because we talked about him earlier. Jordan Addison or Devonta Smith?
I got to look at my rankings.
I have them very close, which is why
this is the first time you've had me consult my rankings today.
I have them 2 spots apart, which is why I asked the question. I have Addison at 32 and Smith at 34. And Smith would not be that low if he was healthy. It's obviously an injury.
I just looked at him. I have Addison 31, Devonta Smith 32.
There you go. All right.
They're literally back to back.
But that's what people
It
could be
says
considering this
Addison.
week.
It says Addison, but honestly, I haven't updated my rankings since full practice and full healthy. So
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I'm probably playing Devonta Smith over Jordan Addison because
I
Jordan
would too.
Addison's. If they both have a good game, Devonta Smith is going to smoke him, and
Correct.
if they both have a bad game, they both have a bad game. Who cares? So I'm just
Right.
going to take the situation where if it goes well, it matters.
Well, and look, the last point before we move on, as I'll say, is this. We just said it. If it's 21-3 at halftime and the game's over, does Devonta Smith play in the second half? Maybe not, or maybe he just plays limited snaps. But what if he scores one of those touchdowns in the first half? That's the caveat.
Then you're more than happy, man.
Saquon gets 2, and Devonta Smith gets 1, right? AJ Brown gets 1, Smith gets 1. You know what I mean? Like, it's a combination. We know how that can go, but if Smith gets 1, that's his week, and that's all you need. So, in your flex spot. The Cleveland Browns, I don't know what to make of them Cleveland Browns, will be balling out in a Hard Knocks featured presentation. 3-9, traveling to Pittsburgh, 9-3. They won 2 weeks ago at home in the snow. It was a wild game. First half was great, normal football game. Second half, I literally, as most of you did, when the field goal was kicked, went, I don't know if it's good. Can't see the fucking ball. It was so crazy snow. So a rematch here. I think the Steelers opened at 43.5. They are 44 over under. They're getting 6.5 points. I think the Steelers win this game. Bad blood rematch. But now you're playing for seed. Big time seeding in the playoffs here. So this is a really important game and a revenge game at home. I don't know how you don't start Jerry Jeudy after what is it, 239 yards and a touchdown last week or whatever that crazy ridiculous stat line was. Did I get that right? I'll look it up so that it's right. But something,
Yeah, it was
around there.
It was nuts, man. He's an interesting discussion. It's tough because I know me and you immediately want to go to the dynasty discussion with him.
Sorry,
so that's
235 yards. I was off.
I've got to
yards there.
shut my brain off of the conversation that me and you could have for the next 2 hours easily, just on that offense and dynasty. Yeah, Judy, lighten him up, and Njoku, baby.
Yeah, and Njoku's in there as well.
Fully back.
What do you think about Mr. Soundbite himself, who never gave a bad pump-up speech? Where do you have Jameis Winston this week?
I'm playing him.
You are playing him.
So here's my thing. The biggest take I'm going to give, and you can do it literally anything else because this game, it's got some nuance to it, I guess, a little bit. But here's my thing. I have had, personally, across many, many leagues, I have a lot of week 14 quarterback buys because I have a decent amount of Lamar. Got a lot of Jaden Daniels, crap ton of Jaden Daniels because he became my A-Rich pivot in the draft. Sorry, guys. Winston throws the ball 40 to 45 times a game.
Agreed.
I don't care what defense is on the other side of that. You shouldn't. That's my analytical point is if you throw the ball 45 times a game, you should not care what the defense is. You should care that 45 times is 45 times. It's just so much volume. And his ADOT is already ridiculous. And he actually has some decent weapons. The thing that's holding me back a little bit, and it's only a little bit, is that I do kind of want him to have the full healthy receiving core so he can actually do it. Because it becomes incrementally easier to punish that when you don't have a semblance of the full, Smith of weapons. But I don't know. If you look at most people's rankings, a lot of people have Russell Wilson higher and things along that nature. Russell Wilson sometimes completes 20 passes, and Jameis does that in a quarter.
Yeah,
I'm struggling to find I know the Steelers are ridiculous. I'm a huge. I picked up and played their defense against pretty ridiculous competition. I played the Steelers defense against the Ravens because it's the Steelers. I knew they were going to be fine, and I wanted the defense to pick them up to have them for later. I'm kind of trusting that Jameis is probably going to throw 3 picks. And I think he still might be over the hump, even with those 3 picks. Tell me if I'm crazy. I just like him over the, that's Wilson. Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say. You said it. You got there before I could. Him or Caleb Williams type of thing. If you have to be on a fringe situation there, I'm going to lean towards the guy that plus matchup, negative matchup in swim trunks in Hawaii. He's going to throw the ball 45 times.
So I'm with you. There is a caveat to what I'm about to say. I have Winston at 14, so I don't have him as a must start in single quarterback leagues. But I can easily make the case that Winston is going, here's the guys I have above him, is going to be better this week than Herbert, Purdy, Russ, and Tua.
That's the exact. Yes,
It's that core of guys. And I would throw Caleb Williams into that same core of guys. Now, I have those other guys ranked higher because of matchup, because of scheme. The caveat 2.0 point that I'll make is this is the North, right? This is the AFC North. We know what these games look like. They can be very low scoring defensive scrum fest. And the Steelers defenses, you just talked about them, is real, right? TJ Watt, game wrecker. Hayward, game wrecker. Minka Fitzpatrick, cover corner. Does that impact Judy? So like there are things working in the Steelers' favor at home, coming off the loss to the Browns 2 weeks ago, the bye week for the Ravens, a chance to really get a grip on this division. I could see Jameis Winston easily throwing the ball 45 times, 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, and 3 picks. 100%. I could also see him throwing it 22 times, 2 picks, 1 touch. You know what I mean? Like the
like
floor
he could
could
have negative fantasy points at halftime.
No, he won't have that. But it could be. I just think the floor ceiling argument that we talk about every week. The floor is more in play because of Pittsburgh, right? Because like Denver has Pat Surtain. Outside of that, like their defense is okay, but like that game was a track meet.
It really was.
You know what I mean? It was just like, boom,
correct.
I'm going to throw an 80-yard, 90-something yard touchdown to Mims, and then boom, I'm going to come back and throw a 400-yard touchdown to Jude. Like it was just back and forth and back and forth. And it was great for fantasy and it was fun for football. I don't see that because we know the Steelers don't do that. Arthur Smith, Mr. I want to slow it down. By the way, Arthur Smith interviewed for the North Carolina Chapel Hill job. Please leave. Please go away.
I think didn't Belichick interview for that too?
Yeah, I think that's a name only. Though.
I
think
so.
Belichick's going to go coach college kids and deal with the nil agreements. Get the fuck out of here. That's not going to happen.
He's just got enough places for his wife to go to school.
Yeah, she's like 18 something. She's like applying to colleges or something. So yeah, exactly.
He was just trying to get on the board.
Let's talk about Jaylen Warren for a minute because I think because of the bipocalypse, you're going to start Najee, but Jaylen Warren's rushing was basically non-existent last week. His pass catching kind of saved his day. 55 yards last week, 4 for 4, but 3 rushing attempts for 9 yards. So is Jaylen Warren, because of bipocalypse, if you have him as your RB3 on your roster and Derrick Henry is out, are you I mean, that's a bad example because you would have to play him at that point. Let's say that you have 2 starting running backs, whoever they are, and you have a decision to make on Warren in your flex.
Playing Warren over Chubb, like
playing
as
Warren
an
over
example.
Chubb. Okay, same game.
Right, like Chubb's going to have 20 carries. Warren might have 5. Why am I playing Warren? I mean, again, this is league dependent, right? I'm in more PPR leagues than I am half PPR. That's going to skew it a little bit. My general rankings, just so you know, and I think Phil's too, we're mostly PPR. But if you have a half PPR question, it's not like we don't do that. We're in plenty of those leagues too. It's just not our first thought, and it would change that a little bit. But because I think Warren's going to be in a situation to catch 4 passes, maybe 3 to 4, and he does well with them. I actually like he's not a guy that just catches the ball and falls down. You know, he can do something with those passes. I think that's how he gets to like an 8-point floor and see what happens. Yeah. I like that more than needing Chubb to score a touchdown. I want the guy that can catch 4 passes for 40 yards versus the guy who needs to fall into the end zone, which doesn't always happen. So that's kind of my Warren take.
And against Pittsburgh.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And you know, I guess the upside is like, hey, what if Jameis is just unbeatable, right? Like he's gonna score a touchdown for each team on every other play. That's a game I wouldn't mind having Warren in because there's some chaos and points, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't think Warren has a high ceiling in this game, but I think he's got like Jerome Ford and Chubb are actually kind of both people. Jerome Ford's kind of like he's always available on waivers, and he's the guy you don't want to have to pick up because you're just hoping your guy's healthy. That happens in so many of my leagues where Ford's right at the top of the waiver wire with his like 7 projected points or whatever. Yeah. Like I'm taking Warren over that type of situation, right? Chubb's probably over projected at like 10 or 12 on Sleeper. It's close, but I'm still taking Warren there.
I have him 2 spots higher, so I'm with you on that. I think one of the things that we have to consider as fantasy managers is what is my realistic floor? If I play this play, you just said it, like, oh, Jerome Ford's at the top of the waivers, 7 points. Can you find 7 points on your bench? Maybe, maybe not. Depends on what kind of a bench you have. But again, what is the floor? Because the projection is generally more towards the ceiling, right? Projection isn't usually a median. The projection is like, this is what they should finish with. That's why it's the projection, right? That's why you look at your
it's more
scores
like
and-
archetypal for this player in this position in this offense, you know?
And so I think when you get, and I don't play fantasy this way, and I know you don't play fantasy this way, but this time of year, you don't play fantasy with what I'm about to say, but you need to consider it, which is I have to make these sit-start decisions, which could be the difference between a win and a loss. And I desperately need a win because I'm either trying to get in the playoffs or I'm in the playoffs and I'm starting to get it, worried about my seeding. But what's the floor for some of these guys? Because if I make the wrong decision here, like I didn't play Tyreek last week. I didn't like the matchup. I don't remember who I played, Kendall. It was in the Hall of Fame league. Now, it wouldn't have mattered if I had. I ended up losing to the high score of the week. So fine, fair enough, right? I'm in first, maybe second place now because I lost that game in that league. But I played here, I'll tell you. I played Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall over Tyreek. Not my greatest decision in retrospect and hindsight, but again, against the Jets, against Seattle, like they're playing each other, touchdown upside. Tyreek's been poor. The Dolphins have been poor. And like I said earlier, 30 yards in garbage time, that pads the stats. And then the tipped ball that falls in his lap. Without that, Tyreek has a 50-yard day, he goes 7 for 8 for 50 yards. It's garbage. You don't want that. So that was my process. But again, it's the first time in my life I've ever sat Tyreek. Now, I lost by 20-something points, so it wouldn't have mattered. I lost by 60 points. Whoopsies. I guess, he had Jameis Winston. I forgot about that. So my point being is you need to make the right decision. We're always looking for ceiling. We're always looking for highest outcome, but there's only one Jamar Chase, right? There's only one Josh Jacobs that's going to score 3 touchdowns. Now you've got to go and figure out what the floor is for some of these guys. So anybody else in this game that you want to talk? I mean, Cedric Tillman or Calvin Austin, are we going there with those guys? Are these players that we're going to put in our flex, or are we trying to find better elsewhere?
No, I'm going to find better elsewhere. There's just some other better spots that I like for some more upside. I mean, Calvin Austin is one of those, is a decent spot, but Calvin Austin versus an MVS who's going to have more snap share, not banged up. They're both ugly, but it's a bipocalypse, but we got to figure it out, right? If we're playing the game the right way, we're thinking at least a little bit ahead of time. We don't have to get that ugly. There's going to be better options. I mean, if we're talking about flex options, there's tight ends that would rather play, that tend to fall into the end zone. So not going that far.
No, I agree. And then there's other guys, and we didn't talk about other games. Obviously, they're going to do it on my normal show, on the 8:00 show tonight. But give me Ricky Pearsall this week.
Hey,
right?
He's due up,
with no running backs. I mean, Garendo's there. No disrespect on Garendo, but he's the only one they have left, physically able-bodied, that can actually play, other than Debo back there, right? And so, no Ayuk. Give me Pearsall over some of these other guys, right? I think that's a player that you're looking at, over a Calvin Austin, over some of these Cedric Tillman types. So let's do some questions, and then I don't know, hang out. Talk more football, wrap the show, whatever we want to do. The world is our oyster.
I like it. Hey, obligatory. We got to talk about underdog just real quick.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
I won't even give you. Look, you guys have
some
heard
bills.
The ad read a couple hundred times right now, but we definitely got to hit. Where's that Herbert promo? We got a Herbert promo that we gotta show you guys.
Hey, Herb.
Yeah, definitely check this out. You've heard us a million times. If you're new to the show or you're new to best ball, I'm just gonna try to give it to you straight as this. Us here at Get Right Fantasy Network. We love Underdog, the company. We love the people. We love using the app and everything. And we did that well before any of us were ever had any sort of sponsorship or anything. We love what they do with best ball. They have so much more on the platform. We just love the best ball. Our group, we're all draft nerds. That's a lot of how I met these guys actually. And the ability to do hundreds of drafts and not even have to look at your phone in the season is awesome. It really hones your ability to draft at a near professional level. You can do it for extremely low cost because you can do high volumes of draft at next to no buy-in. as you get and cultivate your skills to, take down, maybe if you want to get into some higher stake stuff, you can get there, but you can practice for much, much, much less expensive. And it's just so much fun. They have a million different promos, so you can definitely take advantage of those. Half a yard for Herbert. I know we were talking about him. We're a little nervous about him. I think he gets there. I think it's a pretty good bet. I think you should take it. So definitely help us out and help yourself out. Have a little bit more fun. If you haven't played best ball, hit us up too. We'll help. We'll do a couple of shows that kind of walk you through how to get into it. But we love Underdog. Hop on. It helps us out too if you use the code GetRight when you sign up. It helps us a ton, and I think you're gonna have a good time. So obligatory. We love you, Underdog. Get on there. You heard it here.
In the Mini Schnauzer 8, which was a 20 max contest entry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of my teams are currently in a playoff position to advance. So half of my entries. So we love Underdog. We will do a ton of shows. We do a lot with them. We will certainly jump in and do more as that time of the year rolls around. But you have some folks in this room with a lot of expertise. Rasta, of course, had a big win last year. I put money into Underdog 5 years ago, and I've never put money back in. So I know you've crushed a bunch of tournaments. So yeah, lots that we can talk about. Lots of advice to win the little tournaments, to take down the big boys. But Tyler Sperry would like to know, is Reed droppable for Alicia Moore, which I believe is meant to be Elijah Moore, but I do like Alicia, so maybe we'll start calling him that.
That's going to become a segment.
I might have just stuck there. You ever see those videos with if football players were women and how creepy like Jimmy Garoppolo and Tom Brady are? Is like not the ugliest women I've ever seen. Like it's like wow. And then there's like Ben Roethlisberger, and you're like, oh no,
nope.
Ben, nope.
Yeah, that's nightmare.
But Elijah Moore. So is Reed droppable for Elijah Moore, Adam Thielen, or should he keep Reed? Kendall, I'll start with you.
Look, I get where you're at with Reed. Thielen's close. Elijah Moore, absolutely not. It's not there. You got to keep in mind, literally, if Jameis goes down with an injury, Elijah Moore is droppable in every format imaginable, including if you have Elijah Moore, you win. It just doesn't make sense. So it's too volatile. You won't be. I'm trying to think of some other players in history. You can never predict based on matchup. You can't do enough homework to figure out when and how he's going to get involved at this point with where they're at. You like him when you have him, but I definitely wouldn't be dropping Reed for him. Consider that Dobbs was out, and it's crazy that Dobbs was out and Reed had that goose egg. But Christian Watson's the staple of health, right?
Yeah, good God.
No, Christian Watson gets injured. What do you think Reed does with a banged up Dobbs and now Watson's out?
I would take it a step further. What if all of a sudden the focal point of their offense is no longer available?
Josh Jacobs.
If Josh Jacobs walks across the street and stubs that little toe, and all of a sudden he can't play next week.
The guys behind him are also banged up, so
everybody's
they can't exactly walk into a Jordan Mason
Everybody's out.
And they're still, they can't just coast along, right? I mean, their record's not really at a place where they're super pristine. They need some home field advantage. They got to go for it. I
think they're going on the road now after that loss last night.
Yeah, well, you have a point there. That's almost guaranteed now. But the narrative I'm trying to spin, right, is as things stand, football things never stand the way they are. So we always talk, me and Phil often talk about in Dynasty, we talk about a 2 to 3 year window. We talk about ranges of outcomes. With this, the range of outcome and situational outcomes for Reed, nothing makes him any worse, right? Realistically, not much other than him getting injured. But there's a million other things that could happen that could vault him up a little bit more. So that's why he's just such a tough drop candidate for me. If you had to put up a bunch of points, though, Thielen's close. I do think Thielen, the other guys in the team are a little bit banged up. He was just too, but he's ridiculously talented, and they're going to have to see what they have. I think him and Thielen are close rest of season, but I don't think Thielen's ceiling. Thielen's ceiling. Don't try to say that without pretending, without practicing. That's a tough one, man. You're going to
hit Thielen.
A Thielen?
A Thielen? Yeah.
I'm going with Reed.
Drop Reed. Yeah, you can't drop him. I don't think I get it. It hurts. Yeah, and it's not just that he got a goose egg, right? Like I had Tank Dell in week 3 or 4, got a straight up goose egg as well.
One target.
one target. That's the concerning part. So,
although what's
I
the
think-
target share given that he threw the ball
17
13
times. Yeah, 13 times, whatever it was bad. You can't drop him. He threw it 12 for 20 for 206 and 1. So
I mean, he was almost a 10% target share.
better days are ahead. It's just not, it sucks, but that's fantasy. Like, that's just how it goes. Raven Show, yo, we love Raven Show. He's a big supporter of the show. He's in our mock drafts. He is always around. Appreciate you being here tonight, brother.
He's in the Tournament of Champions right now.
He's in the Tournament of Champions. I got one question for you this week, fellas. Full PPR, flex one, Braylon Allen or Debo?
Philly, do you want to hear me talk about it first, or do you need to get your 49ers juice just out? Do you need to get it out in public?
You don't want to hear what I have to say about the 49ers right now.
I'm going Braylon Allen.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Debo. I really like Braylon Allen and his usage, and I can't start Debo and Ricky Pearsall. I don't love Debo's usage. I don't know what's been happening there. It feels gross, but I think Braylon's going to step into a lot of usage, and I think he's going to have more usage than Debo.
It's possible. It's possible. Just checking my rankings. I have Debo at 30. It's close for me. I would play Debo because there's no running backs in San Francisco. I like Garendo. I've always liked Garendo. Kendall, you and I do a lot of Dynasty content. I was very, very high on Garendo coming out of school and the combine. I thought he was not a first round player, but like just one of those guys that I was like, don't let this kid hit the taxi squad. I'm sorry, like don't let him hit the waiver wire. Put him on your taxi squad, right? Like don't let him just sit there and then you forget about him and all of a sudden he has that run like he had at Seattle and then boom, everyone swoops. Like I did it. I went and looked and I was like, please tell me I took my own advice. And sure enough, there's a couple rosters where I was like, oh, there we go. Garendo on the taxi squad. But we know Debo can get the ball in the backfield, right? We know Juszczyk can get the ball in the backfield. So Braylon Allen, yes, the usage is there, but like we've seen the Jets be bad, real bad. And we talked about this game earlier where we said, like, I said it, like, I think there's going to be points in this game. But again, I could be very wrong. And you took the stance of like, what if it's just ugly? What if it just stinks? Like, what if this game is 7-3 at halftime? And it could be 7-3 at halftime. It could be 6-3, right? So I know Debo's been bad. And I am putting aside my bias and my homer of the Niners. If one of the other running backs was available, I would take Allen. But Kyle Shanahan, this is a must-win game because the Niners are the NFC West has quickly gone from the best division in football to a garbage. It's the NFC South and the NFC West that are just poo-poo right now. So this is still a realistic possibility for the Niners to get into the playoffs. Someone has to win this division. So games at home, I think you're going to see. I get it. The Bears defense is good, but I think you're going to see Shanahan try to scheme some stuff for Debo in the red zone. It's close, but I would play Debo in this one. It's full
his
PPR.
ability to maybe rush for a touchdown in the red zone it's worth considering when I really look at the implied, like what's his projection in the offensive total.
Yeah.
I just never really had Debo as a big part of their like offensive touchdown projection because Kittle all of a sudden took up such a big chunk of the pie.
Everything.
And that kind of took out a lot of the pieces. And then Juwan Jennings kind of doing his thing there. So
yeah, I mean, look, there's ways that it can go wrong, right? But there's ways that it can go wrong for every player every week. You know what I mean? Like no one is matchup. I mean, maybe not Derrick Henry, but
hard to answer that too, right? It's because we're answering a question based on we don't really know. Is Brees like? It's doubtful he's probably out, but what exactly happens? What do they say? Yeah, it's close. Right? I guess I'm lightly leaning Braylon, but mostly because I'm also higher on Braylon Allen in the prospect. Like when I scouted him to draft him, I think probably the highest on him that I know. He was kind of a flag plant for me, so it makes more sense for me to be in on him than most other people. But I'm also saying I'm playing him not because of any like statistical analysis. I'm saying I think the talent's there, but we haven't really seen it yet. I need him to catch 4 passes for this to be a good take. So take that for a grain of salt.
Yeah, I mean this is by Apocalypse 2.0. People are literally making these kinds of decisions. So it's a good question. We appreciate George Play 01. Hey guys, need help? I'm going to start 2 wide receivers, standard league, non PPR. All right. So we're looking at touchdowns here. The battle of the initials: JSN, MHJ, DJ, Nuke, Waddle, Westbrook, or Amari Cooper. Well, one of these is real easy for me right now. Should be pretty easy for you right now, given that it's a standard league, and this man apparently can just do nothing except catch touchdowns. So,
yeah, I was gonna say I had like 2 that were I think kind of easy for. They're throwing 1 out there. I know what one you're talking about now. Clearly, I have 2 that are pretty easy for me though, and I have my first third. I think we're both clearly in on Westbrook Akina.
yeah,
Just
I mean, in a standard league, like that's your best chance to get a touchdown. If this was PPR, half PPR, we're not talking. It's a different answer to the question.
Yeah,
but in a standard league,
that is elite.
Stay hot. You just gotta hope
elite.
you gotta hope you stay hot. So I'm gonna play Westbrook Akine. The second one is more difficult for me, and this is why I'm kind of lingering here.
Yeah,
I have a sense where I want to go.
3. DJ Moore's out for me. He's a little banged up. It's not. It's between D Hop, MHJ, and JSN.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at. JSN is probably a lock for me because DK might not play.
Correct.
He's got a lot going on there.
That's where I go
the Cardinals D has been amazing, but so has JSN, especially when DK doesn't play. He just gets, again, this non-PPR, but his yardage has also been there, which helps. He's been getting these 25-yard bombs better in standard. So JSN's my second in. You'd have to find a good argument for D-Hop and MHJ over one of those 2, and I can't find it just yet.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would take Westbrook Akine and JSN, especially if DK doesn't play. If DK does play, you could talk me into Marv because he is the guy, but like I probably still play JSN.
Yeah, I mean it's weird because like
out, Hopkins,
is D Hop like Marv but in a better offense? Like
yeah, but again, it's like Patrick Mahomes hasn't been good. Like that offense, like sure, Hopkins has a couple touchdowns over the last couple weeks, but like
back, so that
goes back. Kareem Hunt's still mixing in. Kelsey's been better lately as far as like target. So it's like it's yeah. I mean it's. And the Chiefs defense is what's winning them games. The Chiefs aren't going out. They're not the 45, 50 point scorers they were when they had Tyreek and a younger Kelsey and all these. It's just not happening for them. So, all right.
Here we go.
Starting Will Dissly over Kyle Pitts. Kirko and Pitts have no chemistry. Yep, good with that.
They really do. Does Pitts have chemistry with anybody though? Can
maybe
somebody in
his mom? Maybe he's a nice gentleman boy and text his mother after the game. Hey, we won today. We lost today. Call you for Sunday dinner. I don't know.
Maybe that's it. Maybe he needs to have more family sit down gatherings with the coaching staff. What was it? Russell? It was Russell and Bible study, right? That's how he knew what tight end he was going to throw a touchdown.
Yeah, rested Bible study and Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford have breakfast together every day and. Yeah, man, there's little things here and there. Look, I mean, he went to the University of Florida. He lives in Atlanta now. Like his parents can't be that far away. Maybe they needs like a good home cooked Sunday, like a good pasta feed or something. Monday night dinner, Saturday night dinner, something like that after the game. So
him and Elisha Moore need to work on that.
Alicia Moore.
Alicia Moore. Yeah.
Alicia.
I forget who said that in chat, but you're now a legend, man. It's Alicia Moore for me.
That's great.
Forever.
Yep, for sure. Perry W would like to know, would you guys consider starting Winston over Hurts in week 15, given the matchup? I know it's a week 14 video.
Spicy question.
Well, yeah, that's fun. Let's go check this whole week 15 out because that is either the first round of the playoffs or the last week of the regular season, depending on your league size. So week 15 NFL schedule says the Browns and the Chiefs and the Eagles and the Steelers. Oh, shit.
Steel City. Where's it at?
How is that game not flexed to Sunday night? Packers Seahawks is Sunday night. Wait, there's 2 Monday night games next week?
Is it the double Monday?
Wait, hold on. Did you know this?
No,
I knew Falcons and the Raiders.
Oh, that'll be a barn burner.
And the Bears and the Vikings. Put the fucking Steelers Eagles game. Come on, NFL. Oh, the Bills and the Lions. What? There's got to be a flex. Something's got to get moved. Thursday night's the
You
Rams.
imagine weather
Niners.
might move
Fine.
one. That Bills game's the home
Oh
game,
my
right? That could get
God.
moved.
Bills, Lions.
So it's
Is-
Steelers
it
at Eagles.
is-
It's home though. Home game for the Eagles, right?
Yeah, but the Lions game's in a dome. It's in Detroit. So the Eagles are at home against the Steelers. Sorry, I just had to look at the schedule and realize that these are juggernaut matchups.
No, you're good. Oh, I missed
Okay, Chiefs, Browns. The game is in Cleveland. Yes, the game is in Cleveland. I get it. I understand the question. I
the
can't.
guy who wants to throw the ball 500 times getting to play against Patrick Mahomes, thinking he's gonna throw it 50 times minimum. I see the argument, right?
Yeah, but it's also like it's Jalen Hurts. Like, and I get it. The Steelers D is really good, but like, what happens when they get to the 2-yard line? It's the tush push. Like, and it's
Well,
Mike
okay,
Tomlin. What are you going to
it-
take away, Mike Tomlin? Are you going to take away Saquon? Okay. Are you going to take away AJ Brown? Okay. That means Hurts. Are you going to take away Hurts? Okay, fine. Then you got to go deal with Saquon and AJ Brown. So it's like, what are you scheming for this type of a matchup? It's a really good question.
You do get a good preview this week, though. How does Winston do against the Steelers? If against a ridiculous defense, he still throws the ball 45 times, is pretty good with it, then he lit up 2 good defenses in a row. Okay, he's immune to it. These defenses are used to playing humans. This guy is an emoji of an NFL player. You know what I mean? It's like he's really exaggerated. I don't know that a standard defense knows how to play against a crazy man, right? I don't know. I'll say this, like if I would do what you're saying, if Winston puts up a 30 ball on the Steelers in week 14, yeah, okay, sure. Now I'm not just considering it. Then I think it's a legitimate, like, it's not Winston over Hurts. It's Winston just absolutely dominated Denver, and now he dominated the Steelers. This is like, okay, he's going to win everybody a championship this year. Now you're playing him over a lot of players, not just matchups. So pay attention to this week. Pay attention to, I would be watching that game. If you're considering this, and this is a real championship, you got to watch that game. You got to watch, how does Winston do against the Steelers? How do they shut him down? Does it look like, did he get lucky if he puts up points, or was it like earned? That's how I'd make that decision next week.
Well, I'm also, as you were talking, I'm also going through the schedule and kind of doing the quick quarterback rankings in my head. So Joe Burrow at the Titans, Lamar at the Giants. Lamar and Burrow are probably going to be in my top 2 next week because of the matchups. You have the Steelers, Eagles. So you've got Jalen Hurts, which we're talking about. You have the Bills and the Lions. So that puts Josh Allen in play at probably QB 3 or 4. As I do the quick rankings, I have a hard time getting Winston ahead of Hurts, even with the matchup.
Because it's not by apocalypse, and all of a sudden other guys are unlocked.
Yeah, because if it's a super flex, we're not having this conversation, so I assume this is a single quarterback league. So give me Burrow, give me Jackson, give me Allen, give me...
So our general take is we like
Hurts.
Winston, but getting over Hurts next week in particular seems a little bit difficult.
Jaden Daniels goes to New Orleans. That doesn't really scare me.
To be fair, we also get to see what Hurts looks like with all of his weapons healthy too.
Yeah, man. My daughter's home next week, so I'm not going to be able to watch those games. That sucks.
You got to just read the group chat every now and again.
No, I tune in when I can, but like, me, I try to be engaged with her and not have football on in the background. But man, the Bills, Lions, Steelers, Eagles would have been a perfect like Sunday afternoon. Go and get a bevy and watch the screen. So good
Perry,
question,
here's what
Perry.
I would do. You want to be a legend, Perry? If this is buy-in is like under a safe amount, it's just, how much do you want to be a legend? You should just let your opponent set your lineup.
Could you imagine?
Because if he picks Winston and you win, like you have that over him for life, man, and that's worth way
dunk so
more.
hard. Yeah,
like go dunk on him in this situation. Flip the narrative, change the script entirely, and see who your opponent wants to. Crowdsource it. Put a poll up in chat, and then just be a legend, man.
What you really should do is you should trade Lamar Jackson you should trade CJ Stroud off of your team and get Lamar Jackson onto your team. That's really what you should do, if I'm being honest.
That's the play. That's the play.
I don't know how that's working out for my opponent, but it's working out pretty well for me. So
I can't even tank because I gave up my first round pick.
I know, and I think I have your pick in that league too. Actually,
I'm such a weird spot where I'm tanking, and it does me no good other than I want to ruin hopes and dreams. I am the fantasy reaper in that league, and I'm going to hurt some people.
Yeah,
and as soon as I got knocked from the playoffs, now I'm putting up 170, and I'm
you're killing it.
Week.
And I have your first round pick, and I'm like, come on, Kendall, lose. Like, I'm still probably going to bind up in the 103, 104 spot,
like,
which is great.
I thought I just took all this kid's good players, and he just first points on the week.
No. Juan Pena Jr. for my wide receiver 2 and my RB2 and my flex. Okay, so we need a receiver, a runner, and a flex. 3 players. All right. So JJ and Kyron are locks. That's awesome. Bench is Juwan Jennings, Xavier Worthy, Myers, Mooney, Westbrook Akine, KW3, Charbonnet, and Hall. Okay.
Got the Walker Sharp stack, which is really important this week.
That's an easy one. Like the answer to the RB2 is whichever of the Seattle guys is healthy is who you play. So let's move on from that.
Yep.
So now we're picking a receiver and a flex. Brees is doubtful, so I'm just assuming he's out. So we're really looking at 2 receivers here. So let's recap it for the folks.
One, a PPR or half PPR while we're working this out.
Fair. Probably full, but Jennings, Worthy, Myers, Mooney, Westbrook, Akine. Pick 2.
Worthy's out.
Yeah, 100%.
Westbrook Akine makes it over Mooney in most formats right now with Kirk's play. It's close though. They're kind of tied. Jennings is my first in, I think. No, Myers. Jacoby's banged up, but if he's healthy, I'm going with him. The injury does worry me a little bit, but he's been extremely consistent. I kind of like him, and wow, this is tougher than I thought. I thought
I
it was
actually have
easier.
Jennings. I have Jennings the highest this week. I just went and looked.
That's kind of where I can't decide why Mooney's just out, but I'm Jacoby and Jennings over Mooney and Akine across basically any format. Yeah, I'm going Jennings Myers. Yeah, the 49ers have been a little bit down, but they're still talented. Purdy's good. He's played well. He's had big games. He's done it. Should do it again. Myers has been extremely good. Mooney has been very good, but he could have a bounce back game. He doesn't need to, though. And Kirk's been pretty atrocious.
I think he's banged up too, though.
He is. He's slightly injured, but it's slight. It looks like it's not a big deal, but a couple weeks of down production. I assume Mooney comes back in a big way. I just don't think they have to. They can do the offense other ways.
Who do the Raiders have this week?
Is it Titans?
I feel like we did
no,
that.
No.
I feel like we didn't do that
Raiders have. I'll have the sheet up. Raiders have Buccaneers.
That's a pass. Yeah, that's a run funnel defense. Pass funnel defense because they run stuffers. I'm going to take Myers and Jennings.
Yeah, Myers and Jennings.
This is what we talked about earlier, right? We said Westbrook and Akine in a standard league. If we had him in a different question, we'd have a different conversation. We have him in a different question. So I'm going to take Jennings and Myers.
It looks like generally it sounds like we're kind of fading Mooney until we see the quarterback play improve just a little bit. I love Mooney. I think it's a Kirk problem, not a Mooney problem. Mooney has been playing great. That's the one I'm worried about getting burned on. I'm trying to make sure that I don't get burned on Mooney.
If Myers plays, he's in there, man. Like
Myers is a better version of Mooney in terms of target share, snap share. Like he's just
15 targets, 11 targets, 6 targets, bye week, 11 targets, 7 targets, 2 injury weeks. I mean, Myers has been fine, and there's nobody else there.
Jennings has to get an uptick. It's a must-win game. They don't have the running game they normally do.
Yeah, well,
Purdy should have a little bit of a bounce back.
Yeah, we've had this has been a. I was going to say you don't want to hear what I have to say about the Niners. I don't want to ever say this as a fan, but like, it is not the worst thing if we don't make the playoffs this year because this team can't win the Super Bowl. I was thinking about this last night, right? I was watching those 2 teams last night, and I thought to myself, we can't beat either one of these 2 teams. We can't beat we can't beat the Packers, not in this form, and we damn sure can't beat the Lions.
Fully healthy, I think you can.
Yeah, but I'm saying this version, so I'm saying is like the playoffs are going to be here in 3 weeks, right? In 4 weeks.
Yeah, you don't got enough time.
We're not unless we win the division, right? We're not going to be a wild card. So it's win the division or out. And I don't really see like as much as I want to be in the playoffs, like if we're just going to win one game or lose the first round and then win one game and then lose, like. Sorry, like it sucks, but like I'd rather have the draft pick.
Yeah, go get a better pick.
Yeah, I'd rather have the pick and like get everybody healthy and just reload and like be the Niners next year. Like it is what it is. But yeah, all right.
Yep. Good question. Though. That was I love that question because it wasn't easy. That I really had to think and go against my rankings. That's a good question.
Yep. I think we've done these.
Are we through all?
Winston or Caleb? Yeah, Winston or Caleb. I think we both said Winston.
Look at that. Got through them all.
I mean,
chat.
I'm still scrolling.
I didn't say it was a lot of chat kind of hanging out and getting into it. Well, if we don't have any more, I can. Yeah, I've got a couple more in each of the individual matchups. We could go.
Here's one I got. Here. Start 2. Don't see a format, so it just is what it is. But all in one show: Puka, Higgins, London, Ridley, Jennings, Waddle. Start 2, and let's say full. Let's just do them both. Let's say full and half. Let's start with half.
Puka for sure. That game's got a crazy over/under. It's easily Puka. Higgins or London. I have him over.
I'm going Higgins.
James. Man, Burrow has been absolutely on fire, and Higgins is healthy.
Burrow has been on fire. I have Higgins at QB6. That's QB6. I have Higgins at wide receiver 6. Yeah. I have Puka at 7. I have London at 9, and Cooper Kupp at 10. I know Kupp wasn't a part of the question. But from the Lions, my God, my brain right now. The Rams, that's the team I was thinking of as I'm looking at Amon-Ra right here. T. Higgins at 6. T. Higgins is the no-brainer for me.
Yeah. He looked good last week, too. That was a nice, hey, you're back. This is good. Yeah. Puka and Higgins feel great about it, too. Solid team, man. You drafted a whole team there, bro.
That's it. What you got? What you got for me, man?
What I got for you? All right, let me hit you with a couple. I'm just gonna go game by game here and give you my most interesting. This is my actual inner thoughts that I want to run by one of my favorite people in the world. Help give me some insight here, okay?
I'll do it.
Packers wide receiver core next year. All right, not even rest. We'll start with rest of season because this is a redraft show. So let's actually address that. But give me 30 seconds on next year. But redraft their wide receivers, rest of season. How do you see it playing out? Who do you want to own? And who do you actually want to see in your lineup at some point? Is it any of them?
I want to see Tucker Kraft in my lineup.
I like it.
Tucker Kraft is literally the reason why my best ball teams, he was left for dead. He was my last pick in just about every single best ball league. And he has catapulted me in the leagues where I have the Burrow Chase stack, right? In the leagues where I have, Lamar and Henry, those kinds of players, the ceiling guys that I drafted early. Tucker Kraft is on all of those rosters where I am currently projected to make the playoffs in best ball. The answer to your question, who do I want this season, rest of season? The problem is the same today in week 14 as it was in week 1. It's the same. We're still having the same conversation about the Packers today that we were having all preseason, which is who's going to emerge. And the answer is Josh Jacobs has become the player that we said it could go 2 ways.
Yeah, the answer was a different question.
Right? Yes, yeah. But my point is we said Josh Jacobs is going to do one of 2 things. He's either going to prove that he was the guy that he was 2 years ago in Oakland and is deserving of the contract, and the drafting of Marshawn Lloyd is just a secondary, backup running back, and Jacobs is going to be there, or Jacobs is going to lose his job, and Marshawn Lloyd or insert player here is going to be the starting running back for the Packers next year. That question's been answered. Josh Jacobs is the guy. We said, is it going to be? I brought that up to preface it to say this. We thought it could be Jaden Reed. We thought it could be Romeo Doubs. We thought it could be Dontavian Wicks. It should, if Rasta was here, he would tell you it should, on paper, based off athleticism and talent alone, be Christian Watson. But it's the same story with Christian Watson. What is his availability? Christian Watson is a rich man's Gabe Davis.
That's funny.
Right? We always say, he's a poor man's this guy. It's a poor man's this guy. He's a rich man's Gabe Davis. He's a better player than Davis, but he does the same crap Davis does. Yeah. He's going to get you, what was his line last night? 114 and whatever. He lost a fumble or something, huh? Christian Watson last night was 4 for 7, 114.
Yeah. The 7 targets was pretty big. I think
was huge.
Yeah, the way I was going with it is I think there's a narrative where Watson can get his 1 status back because he was always supposed to be the 1, but he's had so much in the way. I keep asking myself, in this weird game script where Reed had 1 target, I can't unsee that Reed had 1.
Yeah.
Watson had 7.
Yep.
He 7x'd him. Like,
Yep.
I know that coaches can get carried away and get into the game, and so can quarterbacks, but there is no way nobody that does this professionally doesn't be like, I don't even remember if Reed's playing in this game, and I've been throwing the ball to Watson on basically every down.
Yeah.
7 targets on 13 passes. He had a 50% target share.
Well, and so like, to me, that's the answer to the question. Rest of season, he gives you the highest ceiling. It's the most volatility.
Because I had to do I pick up him or Westbrook Akine? I'm stashing for upside. I don't start either. It's what's the upside? Because I'm like, ooh,
I would take
Westbrook.
I would take Westbrook.
I was gonna go
now.
Westbrook, but I was like, he doesn't ever make my lineup, even with what he's doing right now.
Does Christian Watson make your lineup?
I was thinking, what if there's one more injury and Watson is like the actual guy?
But what if he's the injury? Because that's where the probability tells us could happen, is that he's the guy that gets injured. So I would say rest of season, Watson is the player in Green Bay that I want to own simply because he gives you the highest ceiling. You saw his ceiling performance last night, and that was without a touchdown.
Or like keeper leagues. I'm like, how do I get Watson on my team? Because I think
Sure.
he's got room to improve next year.
Sure, because if you've got a keeper league where you drafted him in the 13th round, and then, you know, everyone's got different keeper league rules, but if he cost you a 10th round, 11th rounder the next year, like, sure, that's a free guy, right? It's a
kind
free
of
player.
those savvy things there.
So that's what I would do rest of season. Going forward, long term in Dynasty, I would still take Jaden Reed. Yes,
Okay.
1 target sucks, and that just sucks, man. Like, it's so hard to watch a guy who you drafted early, you had high hopes for, give you literally 0. Not because of it. Like, we've all had 0s on our lineup because someone gets injured early in a game, right? Like, T. Higgins got me 2 0s last year because he only played 4 snaps before he got. Aaron Rodgers got a season of 0s. You know, like, things happen. But to see a guy flat out just not be involved, it sucks. But I do think long term, he's still going to be the player that I want to own if I have to own a Green Bay wide receiver, assuming they don't draft, you know, or trade for somebody. As of today, I would still take Jaden Reed.
I like it.
I like Wicks as well. That was the other one I was going to say, is I like Wicks as like a cheaper, if you're going to trade for somebody. Obviously, he's not in the same price range as Jaden Reed. You could probably go get Wicks for a 3rd and, you know, take a shot on it because he looked okay last night.
He was the guy I was kind of like stashing for, like, could Wicks be like their 1 next year? But I'm like, oh, guys, I'm probably reaching a little much in this one. But
I wouldn't. So here's my thought, because the
he's
Packers
too
are
gadgety.
going to
I
be
feel like he's like the Tyler Lockett at 1. He'll never be a 1-1.
with the Packers being a playoff team. Again, they're not going to draft a receiver early. I wouldn't be shocked if the Packers went and traded for somebody as a receiver to bring in as a true alpha, because I don't see them making the Super Bowl this season.
Yeah.
Not after last night.
I thought they were a great T. Higgins target, a 50-50 ball winner.
Yeah.
Red
it's
zone
possible.
target. They got all the speed. They need
It's
the
still
brawn.
possible.
But again,
So-
you can't have Christian Watson and T. Higgins on the team at the same time. That's just the most suicidal, like asking for a dead season.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking at their roster and saying, who do we use our pick on in the draft that makes us better? And then what pushes us really into this? Because they're a playoff team this year, and I think they should be a playoff team again next year.
Yeah.
They certainly have the roster for it. So then the question is, like, LaFleur and company are asking is like, okay, if we're a playoff team, what pushes us to the championship game? What pushes us to the Super Bowl game? Right? Like, that's what gets us to the NFC championship game. So, because they've been close, right? They lost to the Niners. Like, they've been really close the last 2 years. So we'll figure it out.
I like it.
What else you got? This is the
All right,
hot
let me.
seat, man.
I'll rapid fire a little bit. And I think we got Rasta popping in.
Rosta's in here. He wants to be in the hot seat
maybe
too.
popping in.
His bum was a burning. He said, "Put the fire on, boys."
What up, guys? What up? What up?
How you doing, man? It's so good to see you, brother.
Happy
You have a good
Friday,
Thanksgiving?
man. It was good, man. Good Thanksgiving. Good birthday. I'm settling in well here into my 40s, so I'm just taking it day at a time.
Dang, bro.
Crazy.
Settling in. I
Settling
like it.
in.
I like it.
Settling
You
in.
can give us all the wisdom that we don't yet have in this
Right.
this here fantasy thing.
I am. Well, this is in January will be my last year of the decade, so I'm also flirting with the old 40.
Ooh.
I'll be 39 in January, so one more year.
All
of
right,
30,
you got
and it's,
one more, man.
and it's truly old man time.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. No, it's fun. Everybody says, the next level is even better, so
I hope
that's
so.
what we're
It's the
shooting
ascension
for.
of life, right? So,
Hey,
all right,
man.
Kendall, what else you got, man?
Well, and
Fire
now
away.
that I got some Rost in here, we can play a little back and forth here too. All right, we'll try to go rapid fire so we don't get caught into takes, and we'll get into it. Okay.
Okay.
Rest of season, let's get some humor here. Let's get some fun stuff. So craziest takes you want, you don't even have to explain them. We'll just let chat figure out where you're at with it. All right. Rest of season, this team pisses me off. I'm really upset with the Jets. Most people are. Rest of season, Garrett Wilson or Devontae Adams. Who do you want to own?
Wilson.
Okay, scale 1 to 10. Okay, as a Wilson owner, how frustrated are you going to be at the end of the year?
9.
7.
I like it.
I say 9 because it's the same conversation we have had with that flat tier of receivers. We are drafting guys who are supposed to be wide receiver ones that have never been a wide receiver one that still continue not to be a wide receiver one.
He was of that top of that second tier, I think.
He was, but
remember it was just a hodgepodge of everybody. So that's why I'm like, to me, it's more a 7 because whether you drafted him in the mid early second or a late fourth, how it snakes around, if it was anywhere within those kind of 2 rounds, it really didn't matter. All those guys, I think, besides, we'll do our recap.
He's wide receiver 7 in PPR. He's wide receiver 11.5.
That's what I mean. It's not
you're right. It's not
still a wide receiver 1. That's
this is why
your first wide receiver pick, right?
Correct.
That's what you got.
But this is why I go top 3. This is why I go receiver when I draft.
Exactly.
Because if he doesn't get there, and this is the season he does, that's great. But statistically, he has not done it, right? Drake London, all these guys, this is why I don't want to be taking Garrett Wilson as my wide receiver 1. I'd rather go take Amon-Ra or Chase and then come back on or if I'm in the back half of the round and I'll take, Puka, Cooper Kupp, and then come back around. That's where it was this year. So the answer to the question, you should have taken
Chase was my wide receiver 1.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that was
okay.
The
So
that was the
pick. We still like Garrett there.
To me, best value pick, just since we're out there, best value pick this year to me was Demont. That was one of my favorite picks this year. I just feel like
winner. We had him on.
That's what I mean.
Show.
He was on the show, I think.
I think he was.
That show, by the way, can we clip that? That entire show
favorite.
was all actual league winners, across the board. It was so good.
Yeah,
Rustin, can we get a raise for that?
We missed one guy. We missed one player. And it pains me to say it. We missed on.
You mean I missed on that one?
We missed on Ferg.
We hit on A-Rich?
Yeah. No. Well, you flag planted hard. I mean, that was.
I escaped.
told you,
if they watched every
I told
show,
you guys in the chat. I said no one has flag planted harder ever, except for Christopher Columbus when he discovered fucking America. Then you flag planted on Richardson.
It was that episode. It was that episode that you said there. I'm like.
Yeah.
Guys, I got a confession to make. I didn't draft him anywhere because I couldn't do it.
You were every college football team that had an upset last week, running to midfield with your Richardson flag to just smash it down, and then it was like
right before the fine, though. Someone whispered in my ear, "There's a better option in the 9th round."
It's a better option in the 12th round. Jaden Daniels, baby.
Jaden Daniels, yeah.
You got him in the 12. I had to take him.
I got him in 12.
You got him in the 12.
I got him in 12. Yeah, because it's a single quarterback league, and all the guys took quarterbacks early in that league. Guys just go early, and then they start dealing. Josh Allen went in the 2nd round. Lamar and Hurts went in the 3rd. Burrow went in the 5th. It was. I was like, okay, screw it.
That's where I was okay. Burrow was my. I can't let you fall past the 7th, Burrow. I can't physically do it, and it feels wrong, and it felt very
Burrow
wrong.
and Lamar for me,
very right.
Those guys weren't usually getting past me. Burrow, Lamar, when they were going,
that was Burrow was
Lamar
a hard one. Burrow got taken, I think, in the 5th, 1 or 2, maybe 3 picks before I was on the clock. Otherwise, that was my guy. But it was all right, Jaden, totally happy with it. You're fine. All right, what else you got?
Hey, real quick, let's help our boy Nino Pena here. In a must-win situation this week, like many others, we're flexing Debo or Mr. Westbrook Keeney. Phil, what do you think?
It's outrageous.
It is outrageous. Full or half? I guess it doesn't matter, huh?
No. Right, you're banking on Debo being a 1B running back there, because it's not going to be 90%. Garindo, right? Like
No,
when I talk about
but
this in my show, I get the
I'll take
we should
85%
have you guys come
Garindo.
on the. We'll do that as the first breakdown. We'll do the Bears Niners breakdown.
Just me versus you guys.
We should just kind of do that.
I'll have to stay for the Bears Niners one.
I would. God, it's Jacksonville too.
That's what I'm saying.
The matchup is so
I think I'm
juicy.
going Westbrook, bro.
My brain says Debo, but as I
Yeah.
look at the matchup, as I look at Debo's, like I think I would take Westbrook Akina.
Here's what
right
I do.
now.
Okay, let me thought experiment. Just give Westbrook Akina a touchdown. He definitely scores a touchdown. 100%. You've seen the future. It happens. Regular game, you don't know anything else, but Westbrook definitely scores a touchdown.
I'll take that. It's a bird in the hand. Yeah, I mean, like,
so you're going to take Westbrook Akina then because
here's
this is the easiest matchup.
Start your craps game with. Give me the $100. Like,
he's scored a touchdown or multiple every single week for like most of the season at this point, and he has the best matchup he's going to have even in that time. I think potentially.
Yeah,
kind of.
Well, I mean, they're number one. Yeah. Jackson
he has scored 1, 2, 3, 4,
which
5,
clearly
6,
means that because
7.
analytically we're supposed to take him.
He's 8 for 8, but he had
8
one
in the
game.
last 8 weeks. Yeah,
yeah. It's just
nothing
one game
against
he
the
had
Chargers.
2, right? And then one.
Yeah, I would take Westbrook Akina right now.
I literally have him back to back, 38 and 39.
Yeah,
that's how low I am on
that's who I
Debo
would
this
take.
week. It's Chicago defense. Like
Chicago defense is good. Again,
second.
as is what I said earlier, Roster. I think you were here. I don't know if you're listening or not, but if you knew there was an extra running back available, we wouldn't be having this conversation about Debo. But because there's not,
right.
the possibility exists that an end around jet sweep kind of a play for Debo inside the red zone turns into a 16, 17-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
So
I can see that. And the other thing too is Kyle, I don't know if I said this in the chat or like somewhere, but are we sure Kyle's going to give Garindo the ball in the 5, or would he give that to
I don't
Debo?
know.
Like,
I
who's he
don't
going
know.
to trust more? You know what I mean?
Debo or Juszczyk would be my guess.
And so that's the other thing that worries me just a smidge as well too. You think Taylor's more the third down role?
Man.
Yeah, I just don't. Based off of the history of the Niners and how they've kind of patchworked things when running backs, even when Christian was available and there wasn't a backup running back, right? Like when
we still want him. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't believe in Debo in the pass game right now. It's my point is that I think if there's something that's going to happen for Debo to have a good week, it is going to come in the run game or a touchdown. So
like over under 4.5 targets for Debo. Like you'd be happy if you got the over, right?
He'll get 4. Yeah. It's probably a good line. He'll get 4.
Garendo's
yeah,
like low key, like a freak of nature running back, though, man. He's pretty good. Like physically, like not like talent wise, but like
we're gonna
frame
find out.
build. The guy is the guy's 6 foot something, and he's extremely fast. Like he's that ridiculous.
Wasn't he 4.3 or something like that, or 4.46?
It might have been more like 4.4. But all I know is it was one of those. He shouldn't be as tall and big as he is for how fast he's running. It makes no sense. He's in that caliber of. Dude, if you went to a different school, who knows how high you can
He's like that Mostert. Yeah, he's like what? Like baby Mostert.
Yeah. Well, then you saw him take a 75, like what, first or second carry when he gets in the game. He's just like, watch me go. 75 yards.
Down.
Yeah. I was like, I couldn't unsee that, like, oh, babe. Coach was like, damn it, I might got another one. I'm going to have to trade Mason, I think. Shoot.
Yeah, it was 4.33.
That's lightning, man. Yeah, I'm a big Garindo guy. I was ready to take him at the 3-1 in Dynasty rookie drafts, but I got him in the 4th all the time. But that's kind of where I had him ranked. But not the Dynasty show. Sorry, I'll go in on Garindo all day. I have him everywhere. Let's ask some ugly questions. Let's ask some ugly ones. Let's see if we can get in here. There's some ugly matchups this week where like I don't even want to ask you a question about it. Like, how do I ask you a Saints Giants question?
You don't. You move on.
No, we don't. We're gonna find a more fun game. Where did me and Philly had a bit of a tough time here with this one. So Thielen's outlook rest of season, right? He was injured. Lots of people dropped him. Some people kind of stashed him, but he wasn't what he was last year. He got dropped not because he was injured. He got dropped because he wasn't doing anything. He's back. Things are happening. I don't know. Where are you at with Thielen? Is he kind of high up in your book? Is he lower in your book based on other options? What do you think, Rasta?
Oh, for me? I'm not a Thielen guy, personally. I mean, I have him like down here at 43 for the week. I mean, more so going up against this Eagles defense who found themselves lately here after the bye. But I mean, he's kind of that safety blanket, so to speak. He's most likely going to be in the spot, that he needs to be. Bryce is actually kind of coming off the best game he's had, and actually been looking, fairly decent, putting up some fairly decent, fantasy numbers, and just looking a little more competent at the quarterback position. I mean, he's not a long-term answer there, of course, but rest of the season, I mean, I'm just kind of, I don't want to put my playoff hopes in really any Carolina Panthers outside of potentially Hubbard, depending on how we see Brooks, get worked in here over the next couple of weeks. I think that's probably the question that a lot of people are looking right now, because Hubbard has carried me, especially as a, hero RB or zero RB type drafter. I have, several Hubbard shares. And so, that's my question mark right now is heading into the playoffs. Like how comfortable do we feel with him, with, Brooks potentially, eating into that, and him losing the passing game work, which was crazy, not getting the targets. But he ran more routes than Brooks, which was interesting. So it's just, we're just, I think maybe overanalyzing, sometimes you can get that paralysis by analysis, so to speak, or whatever it is. But it's definitely something I'm keeping a close eye on. So I kind of turned that into more of an entire Carolina take over a Thielen take, but hopefully I brought that around.
Hey, it gives some well-rounded stuff there. That's what I like. Hey, we got some fan questions coming up. Bought us a little time here. Molly Wop has I do too. That's awesome. Rome, MVS, or Westbrook Kine and Devonta Smith. We need to start 2 of these. We don't have the league type in mind, so maybe we'll do a median, call it half PPR. You could lean towards full if you want to, if you're more comfortable with that. Let's pick 2 here.
You want to I'll give my take just real quick, just because you didn't throw it to anyone, so I'll step up to the plate there. I think I was listening to you guys earlier. I think I'm a lot higher in Devonta Smith this week than you guys are, from what it sounds like. And especially Phil, I don't know if you guys saw my comment kind of in the chat where it said Devonta said he was trying to go last week, but it wasn't his choice. So I think he's ready to go. Now, of course, you said it could get out of hand, things like that. And, is he going to be part of that, to get that touchdown, early on? I think that helps, because then it could just turn into like a Barkley, type show, or even Hurts, something like that. Maybe AJ Brown has a big week here. But what's funny is I have him at 22, Devonta Smith. But the other 3 guys here, MVS, Westbrook Akine, and Rome. Of the 3, I have Rome at 37, Westbrook at 38, and Valdez-Scantling at 40, with Debo sandwiched in between those guys. So I'll play Debo over MVS for whatever reason. I just couldn't drop my guy lower than MVS.
Wow.
I couldn't stoop that low. I'd rather go down with Debo than throw MVS in there and have.
So based on your ranking, you have Rome higher than Westbrook Akine, I think I heard, by one spot. Are you
I like the matchup. Yeah, I like the matchup. DJ Moore's a little banged up over there. Obviously, the running backs are banged up too. I think this could be a sneaky good game. I like the target share that Rome's had, lately. Caleb's been playing a lot better. And the Niners have just been giving up buco points, like, no Nick Bosa, no, Fred Warner's playing with a fractured ankle or whatever. Like, I mean, it's just, our defense kind of falling apart now. I think we're getting Diamador Lenore back this week, potentially. But, even still, I just, we've been giving it up, there. So I think Rome could have a good game against us this week.
Like the pro Chicago take, but I think it's pretty astute though. I think a lot of people have been stashing Rome because it's just too painful if you play dynasty and redraft to let someone go on your roster that you're just not used to hitting the drop button for. But you've been waiting to find what would be the call card? Like, when do I start Rome?
I've seen enough to start him already. Like
10 targets is 10 targets, right?
I've started him in a couple places the last 2 weeks, just of course with bye weeks, the bye NATO in week 12. And then I think I ended up playing him somewhere last week as well, in a couple places last week as well too.
Yeah.
So I've been able to throw him in there. It hasn't been like, oh, he hasn't gone off, crazy or anything, but he got me points. So, I'm all right with it. And, just it's better than some other options. I mean, I wish I would have put Westbrook Akine in there, but you never know.
I'll tell you this right now.
I
Russ,
can
I'll
stop
send-
this right now. Hey, if you guys want me to stop this Westbrook Akine whole shenanigans, I'll just pick him up and start him somewhere in my league. And
There you go.
I know the exact league to do it, and we'll put it into that like right away.
There you go.
We'll put
This
the
is
roster
crazy.
reaper on him.
I am playing him in my highest buy-in league that I'm in.
Ooh,
It's like
see,
it's
I
my
just
like
couldn't do it, man.
yeah, it's crazy because I'm like in my head I'm trying to do like the sports betting exposures thing where I'm like I have a lot of implied money on Westbrook Akine. I have to figure out how to balance this somehow in a way it won't balance, but interesting. All right, I got a couple. We got a couple here more in chat actually.
All right, you want me to let you guys finish off, and then I'll get ready. And if you guys want to come hop on the other one, you can. But I'll let you guys finish up here.
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's do it.
All right, man. Appreciate you guys.
hopping
I'll
on.
see you guys in a little bit. Yeah, that was fun. All right, guys. I'm gonna miss you, Phil. Possibly.
I know.
We'll see how long you go, man. You stole my guy this week. All right, guys. Later.
Peace, Rasta.
Nino Pena. Here's a fun little fantasy question.
Our favorite kind.
Who scores more points in the playoffs, week 15 through 17, full PPR? Chase Brown with a tougher schedule or Bucky with an easier schedule?
Chase or Bucky. I'm gonna say I don't care about the schedules. I'm just gonna pick the player I think I just believe in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Here's the tough one because there's the player I believe in, but one of these players is on a much better offense. That's the tough part for me. Like I think Bucky is a phenomenal talent. Chase Brown is just on such a better offense. Burrow's unstoppable.
And he's killing it right now.
I gotta go Chase Brown on pure opportunity. Bucky will be more efficient. He'll do more stuff. But one, Rashad White's not terrible. Bucky's a little banged up. Guy's elite, but Chase Brown. I just think there's so many game scripts where the team that Chase Brown plays for is going to cause him to have so many more opportunities than he would otherwise.
I just always think it's so interesting when people are like, go pick this guy up right now. You're going to want him for the playoffs. He's got the easiest schedule. You don't know how the games are going to go. You just don't.
Like in best ball, when it's like, we can't do anything else other than find a 5% edge because that's the game we're playing. That's why we talk about that, right? We don't do that elsewhere.
Well, like, it's just like, I was trying to think of that Cleveland-Denver game on Monday night that we just saw last Monday night, this Monday night, whatever it was, had no business being 100 freaking points. Had no business being Jerry Jeudy being the wide receiver one. You would not have started. You know how many teams I went and checked? You know how many teams that I actually saw in my leagues who started Jerry Jeudy in that game? 2.
Very few.
2.
Nick Chubb was on the bench in
a
lot of spots.
So I was fortunate not to have to play against Jeudy, but like literally going and seeing, I had 2 rosters where Jeudy was on the bench of a team that I was playing. My opponent had him, didn't start him. And then I went and was like, well, I should go look at other leagues because I wanted to see how many points he got. Because, some of the leagues have crazy bonuses and whatever else. And I was just looking through it. And I was like, there's 1. Nope, there's 2. That was it. Nobody else played him. So it's like, yes, you can gain an edge. Yes, it is important if they're going to. Sorry, I'm going to dunk on the Jaguars again. If you're playing the Jaguars, fire them up. Right? If you're playing the Giants, fire them up with no Dexter Lawrence the rest of season. Like, sure, fine. Like, that'll give you an edge. But, like, I don't want someone's thought process to be, well, I have to play this player because his schedule is easier in the playoffs. You just don't know how it's going to go. Game script is massive, how these things can go. So I'm with you. Take the better player. Chase Brown's the answer.
Yeah, I think they just like do a couple of these like models together and find out what doesn't feel right. The one thing I'll add to strength of schedule is strength of schedule starts a certain way, but it very much changes. The 49ers are an elite defense. You take Nick Bosa out, their name still shows up as a red on Sleeper, right? Because they're a bad DVOA. Well, they're not anymore, but Sleeper's gonna change a projection for the 49ers defense, but they won't change the fact that their last 3 to 5 or whatever games gives them this ranking in terms of, previous DVOA. So it's also what tool are you using? Make sure you're up to date on the injuries, right? And then go from there. I think me and you are both talent first, right?
Always.
Then like opportunity and situation.
Always.
Then you get into schedule, but it's really a tertiary tiebreaker, or it's I'm looking to pick somebody up on the waiver wire. I'm doing roster manipulation. This is where there's a lot of decisions coming into one decision, and strength of schedule might come into play.
Well, because here's the answer to the question. You ready? I'm gonna pull this. Buccaneers schedule. You ready? Bucs schedule is the Chargers, the Cowboys, and the Panthers. Pretty good schedule.
Yeah.
Pretty good schedule the last 3 weeks. Pretty excited about that game. Okay, you ready? Mike Evans has 2 touchdowns against the Cowboys, and Rachaad White gets the rushing touchdown. You go to the finals, championship week against the Panthers. Cade Otton has 2 touchdowns, and Baker Mayfield runs for the 3rd. That's how it goes wrong. You could have the easiest damn schedule in the world. I'm with you. Bucky's going to have a great schedule. You telling me you don't want a Buccaneers player against the Panthers in championship week in week 17? Of course you do. But don't base your decision solely on the fact that the Bucs are playing the Panthers, because I just said it. If Cade Otton, Baker, freaking Sterling Shepard catches the one catch that he catches for 3 yards and it's a touchdown, Bucky can't score. Right? So
I think your argument is like
it's not an
the matchup
anti-Bucky
matters,
take,
but
by the
like
way.
the player is going to have to play the game, and if the player is a better player, more often than not, that's going to lead to this breakaway one happen.
Who's the focal point of the Bengals running game right now? Right? Like it's not like Khalil Herbert's all of a sudden like getting run out there. Like it's Chase Brown. So
yeah.
Quincy Davis need 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. Okay, 2, 2, and 2. All right, so 6 players. Kyron, Tracy, Allen, Algier, Cup, Debo, Jennings, Mooney, Lamb. Let's start with the easy ones. Kyron, of course. I'm assuming you wanted to go with CD. Yep. All right, so we need to pick one more.
Kyron, CD, Bucky, Kamara are my I got to get those 4 in there somehow.
Kamara's on this list?
Yeah. Kyron, Bucky, Kamara are the first 3.
Oh, you're looking at the one below. I'm looking at the one that's right here.
Oh, I'm one away. I'm looking at the wrong chat.
Oh yeah, it's a different. I'm confused. Maybe he's got
multiple. Oh wait, this
teams.
is the same one, isn't it? Right?
He's got multiple teams. I'm assuming
multiple leagues. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The other one also says 3 flex.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm with you. Okay, yeah.
All right. So 1, 2, 3,
CD.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So pick 6 guys is what he's saying. 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 2 flex. All right. So Kyron's in there. Are you playing Tracy over Braylon Allen?
Yep.
Okay. So we're playing Kyron and Tracy at running back. At receiver, we're playing CD and Cup. All right. And then at flex. I would take Jennings. I would take Jennings, and I would take Allen.
I would take Jennings and Braylon Allen.
That's what I would take. Okay. Another Quincy Davis question. Need 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 3 flex. Kyron, Bucky, Kamara, Braylon Allen, Pickens. Okay, so the 2 running backs are going to be Kyron and Kamara.
Mm-hmm.
The receivers are going to be Pickens.
And
we just said.
Oh no, Jacoby Myers. I missed Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, I would take Myers too. And then 3. All right, so Kyron and Kamara at the runners, Pickens and Myers at the receiver spot.
So Bucky is the first easy flex, right?
Bucky's the flex. I would put Westbrook-Akine in there at the flex.
And then it's down to Braylon versus MHJ versus Debo.
Or Debo, yeah.
Braylon, MHJ, Debo. Full PPR.
Full PPR. I would either take Braylon or MHJ, but
it's the 2 I'm down to. I'm gonna go MHJ because floor ceiling combo. I don't think Braylon has a super elite ceiling, because even if the team gets there, I don't think he's a massive focal point in the red zone, given that Rodgers is going to want to give the ball to his guys, not necessarily Braylon.
Yeah,
I think MHJ has a bigger, he's got a 30-point upside where Braylon can barely.
That's how I see 20. It. That's how I see it. I'm with you on the MHJ one. So, all right, last question. You ready? Asking for a friend.
Oh,
Isaac Arendo. Isaac Arendo has been promoted from your taxi squad to your active roster.
Yay!
Dynasty question.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna pour a little
Dynasty.
For this last one.
Single quarterback. Full PPR. 2 running back, 3 receiver, 2 flex. No tight end premium. Who are you dropping? Russell Wilson, Your starting quarterback is Jaden Daniels. Your backup quarterback is Anthony Richardson.
Okay. 1 QB.
1 QB.
Gucci.
So are you dropping Russell Wilson? You're not a playoff team.
Okay.
Russell Wilson, Jerome Ford, Michael Wilson, Malachi Corley, A.D. Mitchell. Pick one. Nick Chubb.
And Nick Chubb's in there too. So you have Chubb and Ford.
Yeah.
I am.
No. I'm asking for a friend.
Well, your friend has. That's what I mean.
My
You're
friend.
You're going to give
My
your friend.
My friend has. Yeah.
You know, you got to get the listeners in there.
Yeah.
And Mike Wilson.
Roster.
It would be
Rasta
Russell.
says Michael Wilson.
It would be Russell, but you can trade him. Even in 1 QB, I think there's like pockets of trade value where he can be overvalued after a really big game. So it's not him. I lean Chubb because his upside is gone forever. And even if he has a 40-point game, no one's giving you more than a third for him. And this season's out of the question, right? So you're talking about 29-year-old next year, probably not Jameis Browns. It's probably the filthiest, ugliest thing I've ever seen. I'm probably dropping Chubb or Ford. But that being said, it's a running back, and Mike Wilson, Rasta's making a good point that Mike Wilson will probably never be relevant enough, or one of those running backs is better for a single game start. Yeah, okay, I'm dropping Mike Wilson. I had to talk myself through it, but like I would rather have Chubb and Ford on my bench for 14 weeks, but when they play, they're meaningful and relevant in that 1 week. They can help me win. I don't think Mike Wilson ever helps me win. And when he would, I probably didn't start him that week.
Bree TJ, Khalil Shakir, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Tyreek Hill are the receivers on this team. So I had a really young team this year. I had a lot of picks. I have a ton of picks next year as well. So I traded AJ Brown for an absolute haul.
Oh, okay. Let's trade Hall. Okay, you had to have beaten me. I just traded AJ Brown away. Let's see how weak I sold this for. I think I undersold him, but I am in a situation where it was like trade deadline. I am out of the playoffs. I either take something for him or I have him next year. I'll tell you. Okay, I'll judge by your smile just how effed up this is. I sold him for basically a mid 25 first.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't remember if it's 25 or 26. I'm pretty sure it's 25, but it was a first and a second. I want to say I asked for a third. I don't know if I got it. I know I got a first and a second.
25 mid first and a 25 mid second for AJ Brown. Yeah.
I think I could have gotten 2 firsts.
You should have gotten 2 firsts. AJ Brown's only 26, so he's 27. He's 27. Him and DK are the same age. They came out of Ole Miss together. I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, it felt like you guys chat. You ever have one of those players where you've owned him so much longer than everybody else, so you have feelings about him, but like you've lost your sense of the market? Where like I'm like, I haven't won a title with AJ Brown. He's scoring points, but he's not getting me across the line, and I'm frustrated. And I want to blow it up, and so I kind of did, but I definitely could have gotten more for sure. But
I sold AJ Brown in March of this year, so pre-NFL draft. I sold him for Jalen Warren, Rashee Rice, a 24 second, a 25 second, a 25 third.
Oh, and Rice on top of that. Rice is
Rice
worth
on
like a
top of
first
that.
and a second on his own right now.
Yeah, I told you I got a haul for it.
Yeah.
So I have 2 firsts in this league, 3 seconds, 3 thirds, all in 25 for next season with MHJ, with Jaden Daniels. So I mean, like I've got some youth in with Monty. Monty's my RB1 right now, which is fine. Like I'm fine with that. Hopefully I get a rookie that develops. But all right, enough about me.
That was the Dynasty Show segment.
That was a Dynasty Show segment, but I was like, because we had all this Garendo talk tonight, and I was like, do I actually have the stones to play Garendo this week? And I was like, well, in some leagues I might need to. And so I was like, well, if I'm promoting him off the taxi squad, somebody's got to go.
Yep.
Well, Michael Wilson, you have been released. Thank you for your contribution. So what we're going to do today, Mike, is we're going to release you. Debbie's going to give you a call, and she's going to let you know all the travel arrangements. And you're going to have a great NFL career. We still believe in you, just not here. Isn't that so fucking great that that's what they do? Like that's how it goes.
You don't even know the bag of worms you just opened up. Chat, everybody, everyone that's left, they don't get to. You guys realize you can ask us pretty much anything. We'll choose not to answer certain stuffs, but if you want to ask us like Kit Kat versus Twix, you totally can. Phil's a former D1 coach, and he's really good at it. At least from what I've heard and seen, he's well spoken of. You can ask him coaching questions. It wasn't football, but I'm guessing you know the inner workings of how some of this stuff works in a pretty interesting way. So I can't wait for chat to actually hit you up with like that. I'm sorry, I probably just destroyed future shows for you. You're gonna get bombarded by like infrastructure questions, but I would be fascinated if we ever did a show, like if we ever do like a Wednesday or Thursday like weird version. I'd be curious to if we maybe get one more guest to go through like scouting process. I'd love to have an NFL or a college scout to go over like scouting and college soccer.
Turns out I have just the guy for us to talk to.
Yeah, that could be kind of a fun show though.
My boy Mike DeReese is over at the New York Giants, man. So he was on. You saw him on. Well, you didn't see him, but you saw him on Hard Knocks. He was there. Like it was pretty awesome. So I've actually been hitting him up about trying to get him on the show. There's questions of availability and if he can do the podcast or not. But I've like been chatting with him a little bit as we just text back and forth and. Obviously he's busy, but I'm like, you'd be perfect to have on the show. So it is 11 minutes past the hour. We need to pop over to the other show. We got our guy Rasta and normally me, but Tycoon is going to be doing this because I jumped in on the East Coast early show tonight. Should we say goodbye to the people and jump over and do the Niners-Bears game and then call it a night?
We should absolutely do so. Just I want to thank chat real quick. Thanks for hanging out. Super appreciate it. Around the holidays, everyone's a little more thankful, but it's super, super cool that we get to do this, and it would make no sense to do it without you guys actually wanting to watch it to some extent. So appreciate all you guys. And Ishmael, tell me if we're pronouncing that right. I don't know if you're still in the chat or not, if you had to go, but dude, absolute legend, man. Really appreciate the super chats, man. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah,
Phil,
appreciate everybody.
Where should everyone go to find you at, Phil?
They're gonna go. I just threw the link in the chat, man. But youtube.com/@the_extra_point_FFB. You can catch my show on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Although these last couple Wednesdays, I had a personal family issue that I was dealing with, and then we rolled all the way into the holidays. So I haven't done my own show in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's been wild, but we'll be back next week.
Which is the Dynasty show? If they're early into Dynasty, when should they watch?
Wednesday is the Dynasty show. Thursday is the betting show, and that. So yeah, but jump over, hit that like and subscribe button, and we are going to roll our sleeves up into the part 2 as we jump over into the other chat and the other stream and get ready for part 2 of week 14. Sit starts. Kendall, as always, my brother, it's been real. To the chat, appreciate y'all being here. Catch you. Go ahead and switch over. We'll catch y'all over there in a couple minutes. We out.
Outro music.
I didn't have it clipped up. Let me try it again.
White fantasy is the play. Marking nothing, but I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves.